adults in this room. We all have other responsibilities. We have family responsibilities. We have responsibilities, we have jobs to other people. Do not feel bad about those, and do not let basketball officiating take the place of any of those. I've seen officiating in my career cause divorce, loss of friendship, and people got and lost their jobs over becoming obsessed with officiating. That's absurd. Officiating is way down the list of things that should be important in our lives. It certainly doesn't pay enough for us to get stuff like that done. So, don't let it take the place of anything else. But you have to know that the more available that you are, the faster you're going to go up the ladder if your goal is to become a really good basketball official. Or if your goal is simply to officiate a lot of games. And those two goals are okay. Everybody has different goals. Vaughn alluded to the fact that he's got in charge of a lot of rec leagues. And back early in your career, and back early in my career, one of the most important things you can do is to referee as much as you can. There'll become a point in your career when you need to get away from rec ball if you're serious about it, because you do some stuff, and I think Vaughn would agree, in rec ball that you can't do at another level of officiating. And but when you're starting, Vaughn and other folks like Vaughn who control leagues are your best friend, because you can blow the whistle a lot of times. And I was told early in my career that you got to blow 5,000 calls and miss them before you really start to get good. It's not the ones you get right, it's 5,000 you miss. So those opportunities afforded to you to be available to work rec games, because there's only so many nights that you're going to get games at the high school board anyway, will really make a difference in your career, because they'll give you a chance to blow the whistle and to work with a lot of folks that are in this organization. We've got 400, almost 400 officials now. When I started officiating in 19-something, 45 years ago, whatever it is, we probably had 40 men and women who were involved in high school officiating. Now we have 400. We have 400. We do a lot of our meetings online. We're technologically savvy, I guess, is what you would call it. But we have a lot of people and a lot of games. We probably assign close to 100 schools. Would you not say that's probably true, Vaughn or Alan?
I would say.
Up in the 80s, certainly.
Easy. Yeah.
And probably have,
it's probably over 100.
We probably run, what did we decide? $500,000? Over $500,000 through our treasury. So it's a pretty freaking big organization. It's a business. So the more available you are, start getting, how many in here officiate other sports? Football, baseball, volleyball, anything, lacrosse, soccer. Okay, then you're familiar with the term arbiter. Start getting in your mind when you can't officiate. Because when the commissioner comes in and he starts talking, he's going to talk to you about a thing called the arbiter. We do everything, it's a website. We do everything through that website. You get your assignments through the arbiter. You close out your dates through the arbiter. And the reason where I'm going with this is, one of the things that you want to do as an independent contractor, because that's what we are, independent contractors. Okay, we're not hired, we're not employees. So one of the things we have control of is our time. And you will never find a commissioner, and those that officiate already know this, that gets irritated at the dates and times that you close out. Like, for instance, I do volleyball in the fall now, every Wednesday night I'm closed out. I close out the whole day because I get preparation time in the afternoon and morning, and then I come in here at 5 o'clock and we don't get out until 9:30. And I could be up somewhere doing a volleyball game, but I have to control Wednesday nights because I'm doing it. There are the nights that you may have. So when you have the opportunity, you need to take control of your schedule and be able to close that out, because what's going to happen as an official, and I'm trying to give you some background, especially those people that haven't, is for a commissioner to call you, or he won't even call you. They'll pop up on your cell phone or your computer, you have new games. And all of a sudden you look and you go like, wow, in my case, I got a game Wednesday night, I can't work Wednesday night. Oh, I forgot to close it out. So now I got to call 1-800 Aaron Lewis. He's my commissioner. Aaron, it's a jury, got a little problem. What is it? I forgot to tell you, I'm working on Wednesday nights. Okay, well that okay I know is not okay. Because now he's got to go back and reassign the game that he thought I was open for. And if you get 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 Jerry Stones calling him, and that's 7 days a week, they tend to get irritated very, very quickly. And I don't blame them. And what happens is, he may call me one more time on an open night. And if I, unfortunately, might have an excuse to not work, then I'm not getting called anymore. So what will happen is you shut your own self off. So you have full control of your schedule. You'll have full control of your closeout dates. You can manipulate those. You can open them up, close them up as the season goes on. But really get a good grip on your schedule. And don't play games with Aaron, who assigns their games, on whether or not you're eligible to work. And for heaven's sake, don't get caught in the trap of playing games like, okay, I'll take these games if they're in Richmond, but I'm not taking these games if they're in Matthews. Because he catches on real quick. He's been around long enough to know, okay, now I got a game plan. He'll take the game at Holland Springs in Enrico, but they're not going to Lancaster. Okay? Well, they're not going to Enrico either. They're not going anywhere. And then you wind up not working, you wasted your money, you wasted your time in this class, you know, and we don't, as an adult, we don't want to waste our time. That's for teenagers, they can waste time. So, with that respect to that. The other side about that is, we'll assign you a big brother. Well, actually, I think we're doing things different this year. There will be a pod system established where you become a member of a pod. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong on this. And I've just got a generic overview of it, but there'll be 6 or 8 people, all executive members, that will be basically in charge of their own little pod. And then the pods will have either conference calls or meetings. You'll do training stuff with your pod. In the past, we've had big brothers and big sisters. We're trying something different now for the next couple of years. If it doesn't work out, we'll go back to big brothers and big sisters. But you'll be a member of, you may be one of only 2 transfers or rookies in a pod. You may be in with 30 veterans. So, you know, when you do that, take advantage of it, learn the people who are in your pod, go to see them work, have them come to see you work, get as much feedback as you can, and you know, you'll advance quickly and you'll be happy. Officiating, for those who have not ever done it for money, is a unique avocation in which you have to leave your ego at the door. Because it's the only avocation that I know of where people expect you to be drop dead perfect when you start and get better as you get experience. They don't expect you. They don't care that you're a trainee. They don't know the difference between you as a trainee and me as a 45-year veteran. And they don't care. They just expect you to, they don't understand what we do. They don't get the, most of those people have never officiated, but you expect it to be perfect. It's the only application I know where every time you make a call, 50% of the people will be unhappy. You can take that to the bank. It's not going to happen. I've had my mother boo me, God bless her soul. And she has booed. So just remember, we're lucky enough to have a coach in here this year. And we'll probably lean on him for some things that we don't normally get, and that's what a coach looks for in an official. Because there are a lot of demands, and you give up a lot of your individuality, and I can tell you that. Unlike what society demands of us all right now, where everybody seems involved in being who I There's certain demands in officiating that cause us to have to be like. And your advancement is going to have a lot to do with how much like you get and how quick you get like everybody else that goes up the ladder. Is what it is. You don't have to like that. I'm not telling you yes or no. I'm a guy that's a straight shooter, and normally when somebody asks me a question, those of you that know me, I'll give you an answer. And then we can move on, go drink a beer and eat a pizza. You don't have to be happy. But I'm not going to BS you, I'm going to tell you the truth. So, there's some demands on us as officials, kind of like a police officer, where we have to give up our individuality and become whatever we have to become. And I don't know what that is, but we have to become something very unique. We're role models and police officers and keepers of the faith and everything else out there on the floor. We have a lot of responsibilities. And the responsibility basically is to the young student athletes that we are officiating for. It's not to the coaches, not to the parents, not to the fans, but to the young people that are on the floor. And they look at us, believe it or not, they watch us, and it's up to us to set a good example. So that kind of leads me into, and I see a lot of people wearing jewelry. There's a high school rule that says that players cannot wear jewelry, and we can't wear jewelry. We can't even wear Fitbits. That is complete. If you wear it, put it on your ankle, stick it in your pants pocket, do something with it, but don't wear it on your arm. We have a lot of necklaces and earrings and bracelets, and God bless John Dance, who used to be with us, to weigh him down. If anybody's kin to him, I mean that as a compliment. When I came in, John's jewelry weighed more than he did. But those days are over. So we can't wear jewelry. The state will put that in our clinic, and the kids can't wear it either. So that being said, the requirements for this class and for our board are multiple. 1, 10 weeks of class. The more you take advantage of Jerry and myself and the other people who will come into instruction, the better you make it for us. I can speak individually for me. I like to be challenged. I do not know it all, even after 45 years of being an official and 30 years of being the interpreter. That's what's so neat and inspiring about the class, is somebody always asks me something that I've never been confronted with. If I don't know it, I'm going to tell you I don't know it. And then I'll go find that answer. And you'll normally know it before you go to bed that night. Because I'm pretty intense about not knowing something in the rule book. We have to take a test. It's a 50-question open book test through the National Federated High School Association, NFHS. It comes on the arbiter, or actually on a website called Whistle now. It used to be on the arbiter. You have to pass that test. You have to get a 70, I think, to officiate, an 85 to do postseason. You don't have to worry about postseason, but you have to get a 70 to officiate. It's open book. We will try to teach a lot of the class to the test so that you will be aware of the information that's going to be on the test and the types of questions that the test is. Those are, anybody in here that does high school sports and takes the NFHS test knows that it's a grammatical test. It's not a rules test sometimes. It's a grammar test, and they try to trick you. And we try to set you up for not being a failure. We don't want you to fail. We want you to pass. There is an online clinic that we all have to take. It's required by the Virginia High School League. That will be coming out soon. And you'll get information about that. But it's put on by the Virginia High School League, and Joyce Sisson, who is my counterpart in basketball. I happen to be the state rules interpreter for softball. She's the state rules interpreter for basketball. So Joyce and the Virginia High School staff will put that online clinic up, and we'll tell you how to get to it and when you got to see it. And there's a date parameter that you have to take it within, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Gives you enough time to do it. You can sit at home with your telephone and take it on your telephone, sitting in your easy chair at home. But you have to take it, and they know whether we take it or not. They keep up with it. If we don't take it within the parameters of that week, it's like a $50 And then they've got another parameter, and if it's not that, it's $100, and before long, it's makes you not want to officiate. So make sure that when all those things come to you, you do your due diligence. Each week, Jerry will probably give you, if we do it like we've done in the past, a test you take home. He may even give them all to you once. I don't know how he does it. That's his stick. I don't deal with that. So whatever he does, he does. But whatever the case is, you'll have the equal of a test a week. And then you bring them back in and we keep track of them, and obviously that will have a lot to do with your advancement. And you can't hardly fail them unless you just defy all odds, because we get in here 15, 20 minutes before class every week and we answer almost every question for you that you don't know. You got your book with you all week, and you know, you can call for help. So, but the key is, we want you in the rule book. As bad as that sounds, I know when I was a teacher, first class I taught was biology, but towards the end of my career I was a health and PE teacher, and I know the teaching health was a drag to the kids in PE. They just want to play. And being in the rule book to officials is almost just as much of a drag. There's absolutely nothing exciting in this book. Absolutely. Hopefully I can make it a little exciting for you. But there's nothing in it that's exciting, but we all have to go through it. We all have to go through the misery of knowing this thing from front to back, because knowing the rules, not knowing the rules, is inexcusable as an official. And it's nothing worse than having a coach ask you a question about a rule, not about a play, because they can't question the judgment on the judgment plays, but about a rule and you can't answer it. And believe me, sometimes those ladies and gentlemen they coach, because I've been one myself, they'll ask you a question they know the answer to just to figure out whether you know what you're doing. And when you answer it wrong, or you can't answer it at all, you lose all credibility. All credibility. All credibility. One of the things you'll learn as you grow up as an official, even though you're an adult now, is that for the most part, coaches will accept us missing calls. We all miss calls. Coaches make mistakes substituting people. Kids miss shots. They don't shoot 100%. That call ratio is much better than the winning team on any night. Any night. I'm going to get 9 out of 10 of my calls right. Easy. Easy. If I cover both my eyes, I'm getting 9 out of 10. There's no team that's shooting 90%. If they do, they will win. But what they do want is they want somebody who's willing to hustle, somebody who knows the rules, somebody acts like they want to be there. Whether it's James River against Midlow, or whether it's James River JV against Faith Lutheran Church, who may not score, and I don't think that's the name of a team. That's a good thing. But whatever the case is, they may not score for 5 points, but it's the most important game that night to those kids. They don't want to see us out there running around like we just don't give a rat's ass. Just give me my $39.50, let me get out of here. So if they look out there and they don't trust you, and you don't look like you care, you don't look like you want to be there, you got little or no chance of being successful. Because they just won't have anything to do with us. If it's missing a call here or there, you know, I might not say to a coach, hey coach, I missed it. Although I have said that. But I might say, you could be right. What are they going to say? This conversation's over. I'm not going to challenge them. Now I'm in a dialogue. If I get in a dialogue with them, now I got one more coach looking at me like, well, why ain't they in a dialogue with me? So I'm going down an advanced road right there, but you know where I'm coming from. So again, one of the things we need to take on as an official as we mature as officials is acting like we care. Act like we want to be there. Being interested in the game you're given. And if you're not interested in taking and doing the game you're given, turn the game in to somebody. I had a young official, a young varsity official. I hate to get sidetracked and tell stories, but the official, I walked into there's something called a correctable error. It's actually in the rule book tonight, and we won't go over it, but you'll see it. And it allows us to correct 5 errors. We won't go into the 5 errors, but there's 5 things we can, by rules, stop the game, correct them, make it right, and start the game, like switching the light switch. And this particular game, the crew inadvertently misapplied the rule. So I went to the locker room afterwards, and I was not there to observe, and I made my presence known as I was not there to observe the game. And all I wanted to do was ask him a question about a play. And this was a varsity official, a D-League official, which, you know, I don't know what that means, but they'd be quick to say they worked at D-League. They're the game anyway. Big deal. Then they've done that. So, anyway, going there, Coach, you mind? Hey guys, can I ask you a question about play? Sure. I'm not here as observer, so I want you to take me wrong, and I'm not going to preach to you. But you had a play here, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we did it. Y'all awarded the ball back to the team by the arrow. That doesn't mean much to you now, but when we get into the rule book, you'll understand. Yeah. Well, that's not the correctable error award. Here's word, blah, 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 blah. You don't know what you're talking about. That was the first response I got. Tended to irritate me a little bit. 30-year interpreter, at the time 44-year official. I do know what I'm talking about. But I wasn't in there to argue. I was in there for a teaching moment because I didn't want 3 officials to go in the next night, and it's 9, and the next night it's 27. And before long, we got people misapplying the rules. So I said, no, I know what I'm talking about, but here's where I'm coming from. This is bop, 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 bop. And the young official said this, and this is what amazed me that he would say to a veteran. It wasn't he, ladies, by the way, so I'm going to drop this on the female. Okay, so we'll blame the men on this. This is going to be a gender thing. It says, look, I got 2 or 3 sets of rules in my head, and I don't have every rule in the book. Wow, I was kind of taken back by that. Because we got a whole bunch of high school kids that just finished the game, playing their hearts out. And this guy just says, I don't have time or a place in my head for the rule. To the interpreter. It's insane. I find that somewhat kind of sick. But my point is that we all have to have room in our head for the rules. And there's absolutely, you know, the excuse is, wow, I didn't catch that. Man, I should have caught that. Thanks. But this certainly the response shouldn't be, hey, it's a rule book. Who learns this stuff? You know. Anybody can tell me how many rules in the book? How many think 20 or 30? Just out of curiosity. How many think less than 10? Less than 11. There's only 10 rules in this book. 10 rules, if you look at it. The first 3 that we're going to go over tonight are kind of elementary stuff. And the only reason I want to take the schedule like this, and this would be a night that you probably get out a little bit early. Take that out with you. Oh, that's a bunch of people. Hey, you, Bob. I'm sorry. Hey, Jerry, how about it? Okay. That's right. So keep taking him off to the side, you know, getting ready.
He's good. He's picking up information.
Okay. I want to make sure before we get into Rule 4, which is, by the way, Vaughn, you said to do that. Anything that you want to comment on, or do you see, Alan, anything you disagree with what I said? General stuff about the court, stuff about uniforms, all kinds of look like minutia. But you have to know them because it's stuff that they will ask you on those tests. And if you miss 10 of them, you know, you're already down to like 85 or 80. So you don't want to miss those kind of questions. But my point is this. Only 10 rules in the book. Amazing. Amazing. Only 10. Of which 3 are basically nothing but facts and figures. So now we're down to 7. There's one, Rule 4. In basketball, Rule 4, which is the terminology rule. Every term that's in this book is in that rule. If I were you, and I'm not, but if I were you, almost my best piece of advice to you that I will give you for 10 weeks is that once a week, read Rule 4. Once a week, read Rule 4. Now, there will be those that heed my advice, and there will be those that say, I'll do it 5 times, and somebody will say, well, 1 time through it will be good enough. I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of reasons that you need to know Rule 4. One, every term that's in the rule book is in Rule 4. So you could go through Rules 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 and get confused. If you memorized Rule 4, the other 9 rules in the book will never confuse you. Because everything that's applicable to those other 9 rules is in Rule 4. Secondly, you can take the test on Rule 4 alone and pass it. You don't, I mean, I'm not telling you not to study the other 9 rules, but I'm telling you, it's that thorough of a rule. So, once a week, find, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, that's all it would take. It's not that long. Probably about maybe 17, 18 pages in this little book. And read Rule 4. Because once you get Rule 4 in your head, there's nothing that anyone else who officiates can say to you that will cause confusion. You may have questions, but you will know exactly where they're coming from. Exactly. If you don't know Rule 4, even though you may read it, you may not take the time to ingest it, and you certainly may not take the time to ask one of us what something means. If you don't do that, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, is for you to ask questions. If you don't do that, you're going to have a difficult time handling basketball. Basketball, I'm only speaking about basketball tonight, that's it. Because without that rule, it's chaotic. The book's chaotic, the game's chaotic, talking to your partners is chaotic. There's nothing that no level that you can communicate on without Rule 4. So, that's it. Probably I won't tell you that again, but I'll tell you that tonight. Maybe next week I'll remind you one more time, because we probably will have some folks in here that are in here for the first time. But Rule 4 is the magic rule, and if you can get it done, there's nothing I can do to trick you. Open your book of rules. Anybody got any questions of me? Ask me. Really. As Jerry said, we'll be in here maybe 15 or 20 minutes early every night. If you show up and don't ask questions, that's your fault. Again, I'm not going to, again, we're all adults. So I'm not in here to, browbeat you, although sometimes I may go a little crazy. Just for the fun of it. And that's the other thing, I forgot to say this. Look, when this class is over, the man's been through the class right now. We can't go somewhere and drink a beer or Pepsi or a glass of water. Talk to the Lord or eat a pizza, whatever we want to do. We can't do that. We've all missed the boat. So if you ask some question, some cockamamie question, like what happens if the ball hits the pipe in the ceiling, goes through that hole, hits the lady sitting in the second row, has got a red slur on and goes in the basket, I'm going to say that may be the worst question I've ever heard. If we can't laugh about that, we all got a problem. Okay? We all got a problem. Because I know that somewhere in this room of really nice people, there's somebody that's going to try to trick me. It just happens every year. Try to nail me, try to get me, probably be Coach Hammer. He's been trying to trick me for years. So, but that's okay. We gotta have fun. If I answer you, and sometimes I can be a little curt, or to be fair, a little louse, whatever. I'm not a bad guy. I can be very curt sometimes and abrupt in answering, but I'm a fairly humorous guy that likes to laugh and have some fun. When you're down on the court, you gotta, as I remember what I told you about your ego, you gotta throw your ego, leave it in the car. Leave it in the car. Because I can tell you, I will chew on your rear end, as will the other people, but especially me, just to see if I can get under your skin and break you. Because if I can break you, a coach is gonna eat you alive. Because I'm never gonna say the stuff to you that coach is gonna say. And it's never going to be under the pressure situation that they're going to take that moment to say something. Right, Coach? Yeah. Coach's duty now for the rest of these 10 weeks is like, we're like married. We're before the judge, whatever I say, he's got to say, yes, sir, right. You didn't have to do that before. That's all this thing said, yeah, we've been married for 50 years, 5 happy. Oh, you've been happily married 5. Oh, you must have been married to a young woman. No, been married for 50 years, 5 of them been happy. So at this point, you know, but I want you to understand that part of our job is to get that hand on the neck, back of your neck standing up. Get your blood pressure up a little bit. Make you feel like, what the hell's going on here? What am I doing? Because we can't let you go into a game and have you embarrass yourself. You can't. And if you haven't felt that rush down there on the practice court, you're not ready. And you got to be able to know how to handle that. And it's fun. Really, it's kind of fun to handle a coach that's going berserk. Absolutely berserk. And have them look at you, and you have that little look on your face like, you're about to go crazy. And then they go like, oh, my Lord, he's about to lose it. But you don't. Keep smiling. Come on, coach. What are you talking about? Then they really go crazy like, I can't piss this person off. What's wrong with them? I'll get back to you in a minute, coach. You know, back. But if we don't get you going down now, and I don't care which sport, those that are, again, officiated, no. But if you haven't officiated, you might take that personal. You may go home and you get angry. You say, oh, Stone, what's wrong with him? He's an idiot. He's a jerk. Does he want to be a butthole for? Not that at all. I'm just playing games with you. And we'll see, you know, we'll see if you can play games back. See if you understand it. And really, if I'm painting a wrong picture, I want these guys to jump in. But the majority of what we do is people management. And one of the things that you're going to have to do as an official is you're going to have to learn who you are in a way that you've never learned who you are. And you're going to have to be happy and satisfied with who you are. And then you're going to have to be able to keep within yourself. An excellent example is, we've got, say, 20 people in this room. We've got everything from probably the greatest communicator to somebody that probably may not be a good communicator at all. You can't be an official and be somebody who you aren't. So you can't all of a sudden start to referee and be a great communicator. So one of the things you have to learn is to either depend on your partners or learn how to keep your mouth shut. And don't put your foot in it because you aren't a great communicator. There's nothing wrong with that. The other end of that antithesis is the person who likes to talk's got to learn how to shut up. Because you can put yourself in a position that you don't want to be in just by running your mouth and feeling like you're being a good guy. And we all do that as young officials. Anybody, again, who's officiating, you know that we feel it's cool. You want to talk to the players, be the player's friend, talk to the coach, think it's a big deal when the coach knows you. Hey, Tracy, hey, Don, how's your daddy doing good? How's your family? You know what? First time I missed that call, he's going, what are you doing out there? There's absolutely no way. And I'm thinking, it's the guy who just said, that's my family. What's wrong with him? Now I'm going to get all red and flustered, and I'm thinking, you know, no, they're not our friends. They're not enemies. But coaches coach, players play, and one of the things that new officials, again, piece of advice from a veteran who knows it's true because I've made the mistake. One of the things we try to do is be everybody's friend after that when we need to just go in the building, do our job, put our stuff back on, go home or go somewhere else away from where the school was we did if we're going to eat pizza and drink beer. It's not to be, we're not lining up with everybody singing Kumbaya. Just doesn't work like that. And the more we try to do that, the more trouble we get into. But going back to what my original statement was, it's kind of fun because as an adult, again, you're going to do something that you haven't done in your workplace or with your family. Because it's a whole different environment, and it's just you out there on an island, and the only person you got in the whole place that's your friend is whoever that other person is wearing that striped shirt. You don't have any other friends. Don't let anybody tell you that they're friends. They're not. They're not enemies, they're just not your buddies. So, just remember that. Okay? Every now and then I'll throw in a piece of wisdom like that. You can take it for rock solid advice that somewhere down the road, if you try it, and you go like, man, I remember Jerry saying that. And boy, it does work. Because early in your career, you're going to try to be everybody's friend. You're going to go to the scrimmages, you can talk to all the coaches, you can think it's cool because you see these coaches, and Vaughn's a perfect example of this. You see all these coaches during all these other different stuff that they play, like the U-turn and whatever they play on the weekends, and it's like I attribute it to those that, if anybody in here umpires or volleyball, you guys just got through the tournament, big tournament at the Richmond Center where they got all wherever it was, and you got teams coming in, and everybody's buddy, and you're eating and drinking with them. But you see them on Tuesday and Thursday. It's James River High School. They're not doing the AAU team. They're doing James River High School. And it's a whole different environment. So you just have to watch how you approach things and do what you gotta do. Anybody got any questions? I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to give you 45 years of advice because I don't know when I'm gonna leave, and if I leave this year or whatever, I want to make sure that you know what I know, because I know what the guys before me knew. Jerry mentioned taskmaster and love for the game. That was an official that I came in, Archie Harris. Nobody in this room knows him except for those that officiated. Maybe a couple people. Mr. Harris was a legend, CIAA. It's godlike. Archie and Angie Lawrence, the horse. When I broke in, those guys were the men. They were the men. And I learned a lot from them because they took me to the side and taught me just like, hopefully, we can teach you all. And hopefully, somebody in here will be receptive like a sponge and have the fun of the career. Last thing I had forgotten to say, but I do want to say this. You're going to get to the end of this 10 weeks, and we're going to have somebody or somebodies that are going to be really good, and we'll have, that happens, it's human nature. You're going to have, if you have two people, somebody's going to be better than the other one. May not be a big difference, but there's going to be a difference. Well, we've got 20 different individuals here, all with different backgrounds. Do not feel, this is an avocation. Again, we all should be friends when this is over. We're not worried about whether you become a great official. We want you to become a great official. We're willing to give our time and our strength and our energy to you and our knowledge to help you. But you may find out, man, I don't think I can do this. It's a pain in the tail, I don't have the time. That's okay. That's cool. Again, you should be able to go eat a pizza together. It'll make you a bad person. Hard to believe that everybody in here is going to come through with flying colors and be a great official. That just doesn't happen. So, but again, we're here for you and we're here to use you. Okay, you open your rule books up to page 8. And I'm going to kind of fly through the first 3 rules. I'm going to make some really brief comments. I'll stop when I think there should be some questions. I'm going to read every rule to you, but I'm going to read the stuff. If you've got a highlighter in your pocket, I would highlight it. I would definitely have a highlighter as of next week as part of my package because you want to be able to highlight stuff that we kind of tend to say, hey, this is important, or underline it in something. The book is yours. You're not going to have to give it back whether you come back or not. Doesn't matter. And the second thing is, it probably would do you good to get maybe a 3-ring notebook to put the test and any kind of handout material that you get from us in, so you can keep it. You don't have to do that, but I would tend to think it would be necessary. All right, first of all, playing court. You have to know that the ideal court dimensions are 50 by 84 for high school, but the restrictions are it can't be longer than 94 feet. That's a college court. A lot of new schools, the court's kind of I don't know what the dimensions are. They're not 84 by 50, but they're something. But they can't be by rule bigger than 94 feet long and 50 feet wide. With that.
That is a test question.
Yeah, that's right.
That is a question on the high school test.
In the second section, almost every court, they stipulate they want at least a 3-foot boundary around it, at least, which means that when you back away from the sideline, you've got 3 feet to operate in. If you don't have that, and what you're going to find, one thing that I try to do is I'll read this rule, but when I talk to you about a rule, I'm going to talk to you the way you see it in a game. Because again, I get bored reading this, and you got to get bored with me reading it to you. We don't need, fairy tales. So when I say something like it's mandatory, just about we have a 3-foot boundary, we don't have the problem we used to have in the old days when we didn't have any boundary. Sometimes the boundary ran under the chairs on the sideline. But what you need to know is if there's not a 3-foot boundary, you can create a boundary by backing the players that are on the floor off. And just make sure that if you ever say that to one team, you say to the team you're backing off, hey, I need you to give this thrower in. Normally it's on the throw in. Give them a little space, we'll do the same for you. Don't make it sound like, hey, I'm doing it for them, and you're on your own. Because if you do it for one, you got to do it for the other. You can't ever tell who's listening to you, especially if it's a coach. So, and they may not be happy with you giving them space, but what are they going to say if you say, hey, I'm going to do the same for you? Okay? Eliminating the arguments there. So, got to be 3 feet. In a big gym like we'll be working on down here at Clover Hill, that's probably 10 or 12 feet. And you are better off with as much space as you can get. So just remember that, okay? We don't need to go over anything in section 3. That's just talk about the center circle. You can read that. The only thing that you'll see is a big change there is it's okay to have mascots and stuff in the center circle now. A lot of times that won't be a division line that goes all the way across the floor. There'll be a mascot there, but just read that section because there could be a question on it. There is a 3-point line in high school. It hasn't changed in several years. Know that the 3-point line is 2 inches wide. In fact, almost every line on a court is 2 inches wide. And again, like Mon said, that's normally some question on the test ask you about. Why they ask you, I don't know. It's got nothing to do with officiating, but it's a question that somebody out in Indianapolis sat there and made that thing up. It's how wide is the line on the floor? So got to be at least 2 inches. Again, big courts like Clover Hill, on the end line, have got a massive painted area. If you have that, then the inside of that line, where there's actually no line at all, is inbounds and out of bounds. Anywhere they got lines is 2 inches. The three-point line is 19 feet 9 inches. Runs around the top of the key, and it's the same color as the free throw lane lines should be. I think it says that probably in that rule. Yep, three-point line should be the same color as the free throw lane boundary and free throw semicircle. You may find that's not something you check. It's a question. And they like to ask questions that you don't really fool with. We go in a gym and the line isn't the same color, we don't not play the game. We don't even call Aaron on that one. But for the test purposes, you need to know that, okay? And know that down the bottom down free throw lanes, that the free throw lane is 12 foot wide. It's 15 feet, which is in a later rule from the front edge of the free throw line where the shooter is to the face of the backboard. And that the lane spaces are 2 by 8 inches. That's not quite as important as there are 3 spaces on each side of the lane. They are a little misleading because when most of you played high school, the bottom space, and we'll show you that on the court downstairs, was a space that was occupied. The 3 spaces now are pushed up away from the bottom space, so there's an open space close to the basket. Okay? That'll ring in your head at some point when you see the board. The spaces are still there, but it's an unused space. So the object was they thought it was going to get us away from rough play, so they kind of pushed the people up the lane a little bit. But there's 3 on each side. I will throw this little piece of trivia in. We'll go over it on another rule, but it gives us a point to make a point about a rule. There is a requirement, a stipulation on how many people can be on the lane. You can only have 4 defensive players on the lane and 2 offensive players on the lane. And when we go down to the court, and when you look at your diagram in the front of the book, the very bottom space on that lane, by rule, must always be occupied by the defensive team. There is no choice. The other lanes alternate, so you've got defense, offense, defense, which pieces, you've got a defensive player closest to the shooter, a defensive player closest to the basket. But only the 2 bottom spaces are required to be occupied by a defensive player. We cannot play with an unoccupied or occupied by someone else. That's a delay of game. 2 delays or a technical foul. So if it's in your mind, what do we do if they refuse to get in there? That's never going to happen, because the game would never end. We just keep shooting technical foul because they have to be there. You have to be aware of it as an official, because sometimes the kids don't know where they are. They get all excited, especially junior high and middle school teams, and they just want to get on the lane and line up, and they don't know where. You have to really, in your head, if you've got the ball, and again, I'm kind of getting ahead, but I want to throw some things in that you throw enough stuff on the wall, and then we say it a second and third time. There's a lead and a trail. Lead out, administers a free throw from out of bounds. They control the ball. So it's your job before you throw that ball to the shooter to check and make sure the lane's properly lined up. If you let these people be wrong, it's your fault. You're bad. But you can't say it's my bad. You got to call something. So remember, defense, offense, closest. 4 defensive players, 2 offensive players. Bottom 2 spaces occupied by the defenders. Other ones by alternate choice. So if no one on the defense chose to be, the offense chose to be in the second 2 spots, we could theoretically bump 4 people down and be in 4 spots next to one another. But they do alternate. In fact, a little piece of trivia is something you can remember. Anytime in that rule book, there's never a place in the rule book, it's a little fact, never a place in the rule book where you have to line up shoulder to shoulder. Their spaces don't alternate by team, by rule. Center circle, have to alternate. Free throw lane, have to alternate. Throw-ins, if you try to line up shoulder to shoulder, they have to alternate. Front to back is not shoulder to shoulder. Front to back doesn't have to alternate. So anytime that there's a requirement for players to be lined up side by side by side by side by side, if players choose to alternate, they get those spots. Now let's just say, using the center circle jump for an example, we got 2 people jumping, and let's just say for the fact of this explanation, this description, example rather, that all the other players are lined up around the circle, okay, except one. And the coach says, hey, Sam, or Mary, go get in your spot. Go right there. And we've got Sam or Murray's an A player. We got 2 B's like this. And Sam or Murray said to the official, hey, I'd like to get right here. One of these people's got to move. They don't both have to move, but we have to separate. So by rule, shoulder to shoulder, we are allowed to alternate. Now, let's say James River's playing middle low, and we ran the center circle, and James River says, hey, Miller's got a 6'8" guy jumping. We're not getting around the circle. We'll get back here so they can't come down and score. That's okay. Now, we can line up shoulder to shoulder if the same team. We could have all four one team next to one another because the other team chose not to get in there. But just understand, if there's ever a situation on that floor that the players have the opportunity to line up side by side by side, alternate spots are always available by choice. Always. Front to back is not an option. You see these kids run in for a throw-in situation where they stack belly to belly to belly on the end line, normally on the free throw lane line as it meets the baseline, the end line. That's okay. You can't have somebody come and say, hey, I want to get in there. If you don't get in there before the stack is made, too late. Sorry. You can't force your way into the stack. Shoulder to shoulder is a little bit different. Again, that's later in the book, but if you remember it now, we'll remember it later. Okay, free throw lane line over on page 10. Excuse me. I've already told you it's 15 feet from the face of the board to the front of the line at the shooters. We've got free throw line, which is where the shooter is. We've got free throw lane line, which is where the non-shooters are. Okay? And in high school, and I think in college, I don't do college anymore, so I don't have any college rules in my head. If we say that there's an extension of the free throw line, that means if the free throw line is here, that line extends from sideline to sideline. The only people that can be inside of that arc are the shooter and those 6 potential players, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side of the lane. No one else, including anybody who's talking to a coach, can be inside of that free throw line extended sideline to sideline. And I'm a real stickler for using the right terms because there's a huge difference between the free throw line where the shooter is and the lane line where the non-shooters are. Okay, so we got that extended line, so that means we can have one shooter, we can have 6 people on the lane, that's 7, there's 6 other people, oh no, this is wrong, I'm sorry, 4 other people that have to be, wherever they have to be behind that free throw lane line, sideline to sideline. So if the coach says, hey, Vaughn, I need to talk to you. If I walk down inside that line, then you're going to, as the official, say, hey, coach, you need to get that player back. And my coach needs to walk me up and talk to me behind the free throw line extended. Okay? And that's, again, if you're handling that ball as the lead official on the free throw, you need to check all that before you go bouncing the ball to the shooter, and then a circus breaks loose because now we got people where they shouldn't be. And we've created it because we didn't take that extra second to make sure everything was right. Pretty simple? Okay. All right, the backboards, you can read that. Basically what that says is everything there is transparent. There's a couple of different sizes. You don't get there and measure them. There is a rule in there that says the ball can't go front to back. This is one of the few times I'll talk about the NBA, but we've all seen an NBA player shoot from almost out of bounds and go over the backboard, goes in, they score it. You can't do that in high school and college. Okay, the ball cannot go over from front to back or back to front over the board. Can't go over the board. Okay, do not add anything else to what's illegal. It's only illegal for the ball to go over it or come back over it. If it does that, it's a dead ball, goes to the last team that didn't touch it. So just remember that. You don't get up there and measure the board, but the board has to be clean. A lot of times these schools will try to sneak a little advertisement in there something. Can't have advertisement on the school on the backboard. Okay? I don't think we have any wooden backboards. We could have maybe in some of the private schools, I guess, that have got some age on them. If it's a wooden board or solid board that's not transparent, it's got to be white. It can't be green or black or brown or purple or, you know, at the school insignia up there on it. And again, it can't have any advertisements, anything on it. Okay? whether they've got the logo on the flange, we can't count up as a C, but just remember that. Okay, are you gonna play the game? Yes. We're not gonna go and tell the coach, hey coach, you got that ad up there on the corner of the board, you put your school mascot up there, we're not playing till you get up on the ladder and take it off. We probably had a few people that might do that. Okay, but you are gonna call Herman, put it in your game report. I went to Hermitage tonight. For instance, I was at Hermitage one year, actually the last game of the year. And I go in, and Coach Rollison, who's the AD there, I happen to teach. So I know him well. Go in there, and we're kind of talking, shooting the breeze. I said, hey, up in the corner of each backboard, an 8x11 piece of paper with a number on it, like 1, 2. I mean, it wasn't. I said, hey, how long have those numbers been up there? He said, all year. I said, has anybody said to you, it's illegal? No. I said, well, you can't have stuff on the backboard. You take that down. The last game of the year. Now you looking at me like, come on, Coach Stone. You're messing with me. No, I'm not messing with you. Can't believe anybody had told you. You had a question?
Yeah, so say it again, so shooting over the backboard, so you can't do it in high school? So if you went out of line?
No, well, very seldom will you shoot over it, but the ball will hit the flange and go over it. If that happens, it's dead. But you can have some people who, the ball's going out of bounds, they throw it back up. Just remember, in high school, on a rectangular backboard, I don't think we have any, do we have any fan-shaped backboards in existence anymore? Fan-shaped is a legal play.
Might be a couple middle schools.
Yeah, if we have a fan-shaped backboard, that's legal, but on a rectangular backboard, you cannot have the ball go front to back. And I know the question you asked, what about the sides, the bottom and the top? Ironically, in high school, all that's legal. Ball can hit the side of the board, that's just bad shit. Okay, hit the bottom of the board. It can actually hit on the top and roll all the way across as long as it doesn't hit a support or a pipe. That's legal. It can bounce several times on the top and then fall through, or hit the flange and bounce up and hit the top and bounce back. That's legal. Just can't hit a support. Top, side, and bottom of the backboard are in play in high school. So don't get all, it looks crazy, and what's going to happen is it's going to happen, and you're going to get like, whoa, whoop. We'll blow your whistle. We say, hey, dead ball, green. Coach will say, why is it dead? Mr. Stone? Oh, hit the side of the board, Coach. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Question?
You say it's the top and it rolls and hits the shot clock. Is that how it goes?
There are no shot clocks in high school right now. And if you did hit the shot clock, that's not the backboard, that's behind the backboard. So it can't go over the backboard. So in order to hit the shot clock, it would go over the board, which the ball would be dead before it hits the shot clock. There are a couple of private schools probably will have a shot clock. I don't know whether they're going to have one mounted, but that doesn't matter. Can't hit it. The basic rule is, just remember, top, side, bottom of that board are good. In fact, if you hit the back of the backboard, that's a dead ball. That's a great way to tell whether somebody throwing the ball in, and again, I'm getting ahead, but I'm kind of throwing stuff off the wall, so next time you hear it, you go, yeah, I remember that. We never give the ball out of bounds to a player in the lane. We always take it to one side or the other. The rule is you take it to the spot closest, but sometimes the ball will go out of bounds in the lane, so where do you take it? Well, you take it left or right, but you don't give it to them behind it, because then you set them up for failure, they throw the ball in, hits the back of the board, it's good. If the ball doesn't bounce backward, it hasn't hit the back of the board. And there are several times during the season where a kid will throw the ball in and it will hit the bottom of the board and then come straight down. That's just a bad throw-in, but not an illegal play, because top, side, and bottom are good. The only thing that's out is the back or the supports. So if that ball doesn't come straight back, you got nothing to hang your hat on if you blow the whistle and give the ball to the other team. You say hit the back of the backboard and the ball landed in bounds. That's a impossible, geometric impossibility. Okay? I want you to show that breath in this class. We throw all kinds of terms in. Okay? All right, back to padding and support. Backboards have to be padded. There's another term, anytime you use safety as a word, feel free to use it. If you use safety, they can't argue with you. Aaron will stand behind you every time if you use safety. So if you stop a game, for whatever reason, to say safety, it is what it is. But in the case of a backboard, you gotta have padding on the bottom, and I think it's 6 inches up the side. There's some dimension, I don't know that number, it's in there somewhere. But when you look at the backboards now, you will see it. You will have schools that may have the backboards padding hanging down. I mean, you can see everything, really, you see everything. You call 1-800-AARON, put it in your game report, it needs to be fixed, you'll call the 8. You don't tell the coach, look to you, strap that up there, we're not gonna play any ball game, because you just don't do that. But just know that backboards have to be padded. So if you go to a school where there is absolutely no padding, the way kids jump now, what they're doing is trying to keep kids from hitting a body part on the bottom of the board and hurting themselves. You really need to get that information to your commissioner, who's Aaron Lewis, a name that you should never forget from this day on. Forget mine, but don't forget Aaron's. And let Aaron know that we got a problem, need to take care of it. Fast forward to page 12. Each basket consists of a single ring. That makes sense. It's 18 inches wide, which means, ironic, as bad as some people shoot the ball, put two balls side by side, they'll go through that rim at the same time. So it's twice as big as the ball. As hard it is to put the ball in that sucker, it's twice as big. So, you know, again, you don't measure the ring, but you have to know that, because they'll even ask you what mesh white cord is a net made out of, and it's 12. I don't know why I remember that, except it's in the book. You only have to know that one time. That's when you take your test. You have no idea what the mesh cord is up there. You just don't. And it shouldn't be but 15 to 18 inches long. That's something you may from time to time have to deal with, in that if a team's got a really good defensive team, they may keep the net tight and kind of stretch it out a little longer to keep that ball in there, give a chance when the ball goes through on offense for them to set a defensive up with the ball hang up. If that's the case, you know, you get somebody game management to go, think stretching that out a little bit. You don't let a bad net like that make a travesty of the game. It won't happen often, but that's how you handle it if it does happen. You have to be really diligent about making sure, and let me regress a little bit. Our role as officials is to really simply make sure that Team A does not gain an advantage over Team B by misusing the rules. That is our challenge. We just have to make sure the playing field's equal. Everybody gets the same breaks. Rules applied equally to both teams. No team gets an advantage over the other by missing. That would be an example of one. I don't think it happens quite as much now, but in the old days, that would be a very common tactic with a good defensive team, to put a new net up there that slows the ball down or even stops it from coming out, therefore giving the defensive team the chance to set up. Dirty, but it worked. Okay. On the opposite page on 13, just read about the balls. I'm not going to read that to you. Know that the ball, you need to take a one-time, take a yardstick or something, figure out just basically where 54 inches is on you, because that's going to vary depending on the heights of people. But when you get out on the floor, shake the basket. Two things about the ball you need to know. The girls and the guys don't play with the same basketball. Girl, watch it how you say that. It's an harassment charge. Okay, they don't play with the same basketball. One's smaller than the other. So when you have a ladies' game and then followed by a guys' game, or vice versa, if you're the second tier of officials, you need to check the basketball. Okay, I mean, I think we've had state tournament games where we've had games played before, and we've used the same. They hadn't even discovered till halftime. They use the same ball, so I mean, it is what it is. But that's a little embarrassing. come in and find out. I got you in a second. The second thing is, normally we're charged with checking the ball. So you always want a spare needle in your pocket, okay? Now, unlike volleyball, we don't carry the things to blow the ball up with. But we should have a needle in your pocket because a lot of times, again, teams with non-large people will tend to inflate the ball a little bit more so the rebounds don't stay close to the basket. Okay? All kinds of stuff happens in this game. Just, yeah, you notice all the rebounds going out to the free throw line. You think, man, how is this happening? They must have helium in the ball. But that's possible too. But have the needle. So you hold the ball. So the bottom is basically 6 feet from the floor. You always test it on the floor. Don't test it in the locker room, in the classroom with the towel. You know, over on the bleachers, let it drop on the first row of the bleachers. Test it on the playing surface. 6 feet, let it drop. Ball should come up basically 54 inches from the floor. Okay? And if you don't know what 54 inches is, you won't be able to do that. But check it. You'll see that normally the referee, by design, is charged with checking the ball. So you'll see him come out, walk across, get the ball. Now, if they play a series of games, let's say they played 4 games in a row, we're using this as a tournament, you use the same ball. You don't need to check the ball for the 4th game. They've used the freaking thing for 7 hours. Whatever it is, it is. But you do need to know, hey, how do I figure out whether this ball is over or under inflated? And if you drop it from about 6 feet and the ball comes up to eye level, we have a little problem. Go in the little pocket, get the little needle, little air come out, drop it, 54. If it bounces too low, you're like, hey, I'll tell you what I do. Because I figured this out about halfway through my career. It took me about 20 years to figure out I was not the omnipotent being on the court. And I didn't want to be the one who's, the less responsibility I have, the more comfortable I am. So I get my 2 point guards. And I say, hey guys, or hey ladies, and this makes them feel good. This ball's no good. Go find me a ball. And I send those 2 opponents to the ball rack. Whatever my 2 point guards come back with, I'm not checking. Because they're happy with that son of a gun, I'm happy. Because that's the 2 people who will be dribbling the ball all night long. And it's funny to watch the kids interact. Because one of them will pull a ball and the other one will say, no, I don't like that one. And eventually they got to come to some agreement. Because they know when they come back to me, we need a ball. Don't come back and tell me you can't figure it out. No, that's not going to work. Wait a minute, before, we had a question. Somebody back here?
I was just going to say, when you brought up about the balls, I coached in the state semifinal 4 years ago, and played coaching girls. We played our whole first quarter with the boys ball in the previous game.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, especially in a tournament like that where, somebody's not watching it, it is what it is. Yeah.
So there's no pressure for the goal like volleyball that
There is, and it's in that rule, but I have no idea what it is. I'll read it before I take the test. Or if I have that question, I don't mean that. What I know is I'm not going to pump the ball up. All I know is what 54 inches is. I'm going to find me a basketball. Which again, later on, I think it kind of alludes to home team supplies the ball. Home team doesn't have it, you can go to the visitors and get it. If you can't find one, then you play with the best one. We're going to play the game. We're not going to not play the game. You'll find a ball. But it is okay if the home team, sometimes the home team's basketballs are just awful. I mean, they are horrendous. So you say, hey, I'm going to go over here and find one. But I send those 2 captains, I don't care whether it's Bird Middle School against Tuckahoe or Monacan and James River, or North Carolina and Duke, it doesn't matter. If my 2 point guards are happy, I'm happy as a pig in slop. Because I know all night, even if the coach strikes, coach, your point guard picked your ball out. What do you want me to do? Hey, he's howling at the point guard. How can you pick that up? Okay, I'm out of this. That's a good thing. So, here's what it is. But there's your compressions and all that stuff in that. On page 14, the ball should be inflated to a pressure that win, and that's what I said. When dropped from 6 feet, it should be about 54 inches. Home team shall provide the ball, we just said that. Bench locations, again, some of this has changed since we played. No, it changed since I played, believe it or not. I did not play when the beach basket was up. Contrary to popular belief, you may be looking at me thinking that. But I did play when there was a regular basket there, and a regular basketball.
Benches under
But with
the
that being said, now you don't get to choose if you're the visitor where you sit. When you walk in the gym, the home team determines where everybody's sitting. All that stuff is set up. And it doesn't matter whether the coach comes up and says, we don't want to sit here, we don't want to sit. All that stuff, never had that happen because the home team's sitting on one bench and the other unoccupied bench goes to the visitor. It is what it is, okay? And that's determined. There is a coach's box in high school now, 28 feet from the end line. It used to be 12 or 14 feet. I think last year, then we changed this all the way. You get all, isn't that right, Jerry? It's all 28 feet. That's one of the best rules they ever made. Because we got a rule that controls coaches. It's called a technical foul. I shouldn't have to look over and figure out whether the coach is one step out, if the coach is one step out and not hollering at me, versus one step out and hollering at me. That just combobulates my mind, and now I'm refereeing outside the lines, and I don't have anything to do out there. My problems are inside the line. So now the coaches can roam from 28 feet. They can't go from that 28-foot line up to the division line. They can't coach up there. And they'll sneak up there. And as long as they're up there coaching, hey, back up, coach, you need to back up on them. But it's one warning. They know the rule. They know the rule. It's when you warn in the first period and you're still warning with 2 minutes to go in the fourth period that you've been used. So one warning. If they're up there refereeing, they don't get a warning. Technical foul, point at their feet. I didn't say anything. Where you standing? You don't belong out there. You got a big old coaching box to be in. Don't be up here. And then remember, if you let one guy or girl coach play those games, and then all of a sudden with 2 minutes to go, the other coach for the first time comes rolling out of that box, and you stick them. That's officiating suicide. Because the first thing they gonna say is, you let that coach down there stay all night long. Coach Hammer's been standing here at this division line, and he's been coaching his butt off, and I come at one time with a score tie, and you're gonna take me. That ain't good. That's just not good. It's not good. So don't put yourself in that position. Again, we try to be friends. We try to be cool. Oh, the coach didn't bother me. That's academic. They got a coach's box. Tell them one time, Coach, you need to get back. Hey, Coach, I know you. I'm not saying things here. I know that. That's why I'm telling you. But don't put me on the spot because I got somebody else watching me. If you come out again, whack them. You're out. They know. Not my fault. I didn't do it. You know, I'm not over in the coach's box coaching. You know, don't come up on my part of the floor where I'm refereeing. Okay. Enough said about that. You can walk it off. I don't think there's a school now that doesn't have a coach's box line on it. Again, used to be the, you know, you might go to school and it wasn't. Here's a little hint. Of the stuff that's required, like to exit the table in front of the official score and the coach's box line. If you get to a school that doesn't have them, game report, on 800 Aaron, don't go over there and put athletic tape on these floors because it'll pull the freaking varnish right off of them. And now we've got a multi-$1,000 argument with the school because the 9th grade official thought they were being cool by knowing where 28 feet was and wanted to put a coach's box line down. If you get in a problem like that, designate a chair and say, hey, okay, everything from this chair down, coach, because we don't have a line. Everything from this chair down is in the box. So make sure, and there's a rule later on that you learn, but the coaches, probably in Rule 10, that in order to use the coach's box, you have to sit in the coach's box. So if a coach wants to get up and coach, they have to be in the box. They can't sit, they can be chairs. We've had officials try to tell game facility people, they can't have chairs all the way to the scores table. We're not into facility management. We don't go anywhere and tell people how to set their gym up. We simply are there to enforce the rules. So one of the rules is, if you're going to coach and use the box, which means you can stand and coach, you have to be in the box. You can sit out of the box and sit there all night long. In fact, you can get up, call a timeout, cheer for a player, check the table to make sure that something's right or wrong, you know, do whatever, put a sub in. I think it's 4 reasons that you can stand up, but you can't just stand up in that area between the 28-foot line and the division line and coach. Coach, you can't stand there. That's not in the coach's spot. Well, I'm gonna have my sister stand up. No, you're not either. No, sisters don't have but one job. That's to keep it short. You don't have any other job in this game. If you want them to talk to you, fine. I don't want them talking to me. I don't want them standing up. Let them sit. Coach, you want to move back down there? It's okay. You're going to sit up here. That's okay too. Just remember, you can't stand for a length of time, coach. They understand, and very few of them will do that. St. Christopher's gym used to be like that. When they used to sit, and they may still do it, they used to sit on the front row of the bleachers, and we had to use the crack in the bleachers as a coach's box. It was always, well, it was cool though, because the coach didn't sit down on this side of the crack. He wasn't in the coach's box. And he always sat there. He said, no, you need to be down there. So, but again, remember, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. So if you don't enforce the coach's box to coaches, then you're going to spend more time officiating outside the line than you are inside the line, which really makes their job 50 times more difficult. 50 times more difficult. Everybody's got a job to do, and my job is not to worry about, there's only one time that I have to worry about what's outside the line. That's when one team is beating another team so bad we don't have a competitive game. Now I'm only refereeing 2 things. Frustration between players, I don't want somebody getting a fight, and a coach who's tired of getting his tail kicked. And that's just going to cause a scene because there's nothing else to do. God bless Coach Nunley and Randolph-Macon. He used to be like that, even if he was winning by 30. It was only after he was up by 30 he would stand up and scream something like, Mr. Stone, I thought hand checking. And the score could be tied, people could be going crazy, could have been for the ODAC championship, and he wouldn't say a word if somebody had their hands in the other guy's pockets. But let there be a 30-point difference, and he didn't have anything else to say. He was going to go crazy on the rules and the points of emphasis. Coaches do that kind of stuff. So, you don't want to do that. Okay, you know the bench locations. There's a red light almost in every high school now, LED light. Okay, used to be, again, old days when you played, I played, the horn determines when the game, quarters and periods were over. Now it's the red light, if there's a red light. If there's no red light, it's the horn. Okay, the old Hermitage Gym. Anybody here go to Hermitage High School? Old Hermitage Gym, there used to be a 1-second delay between the light and the horn. It should drive you crazy as an official. Because the horn would go and somebody would release a ball, but then the light would go off. Well, if it goes, it's good. But the horn's going off, and we're trained to think the horn is the end of the game. Only if there's no LED light on the board. The light determines it, okay? That ball's got to be out of that shooter's hands. Be good in that case. Down the bottom, possession error. There is a possession error. We'll learn all kinds of stuff about how to determine who gets the ball. But the possession error must be located at the table. It can also be, like a lot of schools have clocks they use for wrestling. There's all kinds of stuff up there, and they indicate on the board which way the arrow is going. But by rule, we have to have, and we don't care, and I mean this sincerely, it can be a $5,000 clock that works off of LED lights and is perfect. It can be a piece of paper that flips over and it's got a magic marker with an arrow this way and one over here with an arrow that way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But they have to have that possession arrow at the table. Most of them now have some electronic device with an arrow pointing on it. Normally, before the game, as a referee, when I go over, I'll reach behind it and flip the switch. I'll ask the scorer if they'll flip the switch just to make sure that the bulbs are working. Because lo and behold, here we go. We get somebody, we got an arrow going one way, and then he flips the arrow, and we got no arrow. And we're looking for it, but we can't tell. So, okay. And just as a point of reference, not this rule, another rule, but again, to get into the rule book, the way we would determine which way the arrow's set, and this is something that's the easiest way to remember this that I can tell you. Whoever gets the first possession of the game, we don't care how that happens. It can be off the tip, it can be because it was a technical foul called, and the throw-in foul in the second, we don't care. However the first possession occurs, the arrow is always set opposite to start the alternate possession process. So, to give you a play, there's a huge difference between this. We throw it up, we tip it, ball's going out of bounds, 24 white goes over, pops the ball back in bounds, ball's caught by 13 green. Okay? 24 popped it back in, 13 caught it, first possession green, arrow white. Pretty simple. Same play. Ball's going out of bounds, 24 white, takes the ball, both hands, flips it back over his head, green catches it. Possession white, possession arrow, and the ball right down. That's one you have to explain to a coach sometime. This guy or girl possessed it. This person caught the attempt to throw it back in bounds. Second possession. So what's going to happen is green's going to be dribbling the ball up the floor, and your timer is going to set the arrow to white. Human nature. Green's dribbling the ball. So as an official, one thing you have to do is learn to check that arrow at the corner of your eye to make sure that it is set correctly. If it's not, don't stop the game. Let the game play out until there's a dead ball. And the first time there's a dead ball, go to the referee. The referee, whoever, there's two positions or three positions, depending on the number of people in the crew. There's a referee and an umpire. Or there's a referee, an umpire one, and an umpire two. The referee is like the boss for the night. It is a hallowed position. For those people that really want to be good, it is a challenge to become an R. You want to be the R because it's not that you're better or worse, but you kind of run the game. So in this case, the R would go look at the coach and go say, hey, this arrow should be the green. And the other, one coach is going to go bonkers. So coach needs to settle down. Snub. First possessed. Your number 24 caught the ball. Can we agree on that? Yeah, okay. We can agree on that, then we don't have to worry about everything else. But that was the first possession. Whatever happened after that was the second possession. So green caught that ball for the second possession, but green got the arrow because the ball was first possessed by white. And then you get the game back going. You make sure they know that because they're not going to understand. What you don't want to do is either not check or not stop the game, and then you forget because you get into the game refereeing. And there we're out of sequence, which can make a huge difference because that possession error can determine who wins and loses the game. Because the rest of the game, we're going to award the ball or throw-in either when it's a jump ball or it's between periods by however we set that arrow to start the game. It doesn't start over until there's an overtime. So for the rest of those 4 periods, We're gonna go, in this case, green, white, green, white, green, white, green, white. And if we get off a rotation, somebody's gonna get the ball twice in a row. You might say, okay, Jerry, what the heck do we do if that happens? I know we're getting away from Rule 2, but again, I'm trying to throw stuff off the ball that you'll remember. Here's what you remember. If you catch it and you can't do anything about it, you never award the ball to the same team twice in a row. So whether you're right or wrong, you go over and you switch the arrow. And the coach will say, why? I can't help it you gave it to green. It should be my ball. And I should get there. Coach, no, we gave you the ball by mistake. The next possession of the arrow goes to green. We messed up. We will make it right. We're not going to give you the ball twice. We're not going to give you the ball by Green's award and give you the ball by your award too. That's not the way the game works. So you can make that error correct by changing it. We like to think that the first thing we do is get it right off the get-go, and we don't have a mistake. But just remember, if you get caught, and you just say, holy moly, how am I getting out of this? We just never give the ball to the same team twice off the arrow. So we switch the arrow. Pretty simple process. And it's a fair process. It's there for us to use. There's an X. Most schools have it. It should be located in front of the official scorer. That's the person for the home team originally, or initially rather. It is possible, probably at some middle school games or a JV game where you may have to change official scores. Because you can have a student that gets confused and an adult for maybe the team that's not the official home team. We want to make the person who really knows what's going on the official scorer. We have scores I can remember when I called the school. A good friend of mine, absolutely great friend of mine, but and he used to be the scorer, and he would adamantly cheer for his team as his scorer. And when you made a call that, for reasons he didn't know, why is there always trouble with the guys? They mentioned the ladies, but the guy he banged his fist on the table, blow you off. Visiting team's now to score. Coach, you have somebody else you won't put up here because this one's gone. So there's a lot of stuff that can make that happen, but mainly somebody who's inept. I had a volleyball game last night where the official score just absolutely did not know how to keep score. Didn't know how to keep score. Just was going crazy. We were having an argument on every freaking serve. Finally, we just say, look, you seem to go up here and sit by the visitor's score and keep things straight. Same way basketball. If the visitor's the best scorer, you got to do what you got to do. Can't have turmoil. Another one of Stoneisms. The people at the table can kill us or make us heroes. They can kill us. You need complete focus. No telephones, no talking to your boyfriend or girlfriend, no sidetracking of your focus, no looking down when you should be looking up at me, no putting the numbers in the book early. That table can kill you, because when they mess up, you're going to get hollered at. Nobody understands that. They do not understand that you don't keep the book. You don't know which arrow that should be going. You don't know that the clock didn't start or stop all right. You don't know that the score is wrong. They don't get the fact that you're running up and down the floor, keeping your eyes, 2 people keeping their eye on 10 players. They just want to make sure that all that stuff is right, and they're not going to holler. The little Betty Sue or Bob that's sitting over there is in the 11th grade. They're just not going to do it. They're going to be all over you. So you want to make sure that the table is on focus. Again, that table can make us or break us. And I always let them know before the game, you are the most important people in here. I am not. I want you to keep me straight. I always lie to them. I don't need them. Keep me straight, but I'll let them think that. And then at the end of the game, if they've done a good job, I'll always go over and pat the table and say, hey, thanks for your hard work. Even though maybe they could have done a little better, I want to make them sure feel like that, hey, He appreciates that, because I'll tell you what I do. Because I've had a game in Charlottesville in one time when it was a win, and they only come back in the locker room and have both scorers who told me religiously at the end of the game that the freaking game was over, to tell me that actually they had screwed up something and that the game should be tied. And I can tell you, if we don't go back out and start the game, not when the custodian is sweeping the floor and the bleachers up, just not gonna do that. So they can kill you. Again, Stoneism. Inside that last minute, every chance I get, if I'm the closest official to the table, I always say, hey, you guys agree on the score? I always want to nod their head. Because somewhere in here, we're going to talk about when you approve the score. And if you forget to go by that table at the end, and you have an AD come back in the locker room and say, hey, the score was wrong on the board, and you're out of here, there is no restart. We had that happen last year in a tournament up in Carolina, a high school tournament, where the officials left, and you can't go back out and go, okay, we'll make this right, we'll play another 2 minutes or whatever. You know, it is what it is. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Got the Regis rule. I always love to say that. There can't be any music being played except before the game, after the game, in between periods, and during halftime. During timeouts. When the ball is live and/or the clock is running, and that can be at the different times. The ball's live when you hand it to somebody out of bounds, but it doesn't start till it starts inbounds. When that ball's alive, no music. You can't have artificial noisemakers. I think it says that. That's a change in the rules. Thinking that it says that. Tell me who I was reading that. The use of artificial noisemakers shall be prohibited. That's wrong. I misread that. You can have them in softball. You can't have them in basketball. You can't have any basic. You can't have cans. You can be stomping the bleachers. That's not an artificial noisemaker. But you can't fill, you know, everybody in the student section can't have cans filled with rocks. Or they can't have, you know, bullhorn up there howling at the players. And you can't have music playing. Music has to stop once we start playing again. Okay? You can't have it before the game, during period, you know, intermissions, or after the game, halftime. But you can't have it while the game's going on. And that's, I think, almost at every level of a high school, college. The use of electronic devices, that's a little misleading, because it says it's permitted, and that's a true statement. But you can only use electronic devices for coaching purposes. Later on, we'll read somewhere in here, I think probably it's in Rule 2, that they can't take a cell phone or a device, a tablet, take a picture of a play and then come over and say, hey, coach, I mean, hey, ref, look at this, missed that call. There is no replay in high school. Can't go to that. But they can use whatever they want to for coaching purposes. We're not all hung up about that. Okay? Non-playing personnel, that just says where they got to stand. It's no big deal. Game and table officials uniform, and this is important because you're going to start to buy stuff. There is a specific shirt that you buy, and we'll have that here for you. There are black pants, and we'll tell you where to get those, especially the ladies, because obviously most men's pants don't fit ladies the same way, so there are officiating pants for ladies that fit ladies the way that ought to fit them. Black shoes and black socks. Coach Hammer, you can't see his shoes, but he's got, I think, Adidas or something. I don't look. What a, he's got. That's way too much white. We think it's cool to dress the shoes up. Black shoes. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't have the Nike stripe on them, but you can't have massive amounts of white or red or blue or green. It's got to be a black shoe. Basically, black socks, black shoes, black belt if you wear belted pants, non-belted, black and white shirt. Your jacket will provide for you. I think that's in your package. Regis, I got to tell you that. But anyway, that's your uniform. I would not buy any of that stuff until you see it. Some of you may have it as referee before. That's good. Any of you guys or girls that have big feet, the New Balance shoe, I would advise you to go to New Balance wherever it is. I know there's one up there on Broad, across from the Short Pump Town Center. I will call that guy. Normally they'll give us 10 or 15% discount if we go up there. I don't get anything out of that, but I'm just telling you, the New Balance shoe is the only one that comes in wide, up to 4 wide. Nike makes a great shoe. The Adidas is a great shoe. The Puma is a decent shoe, but they basically come in A widths. If you've got a narrow foot, that'll work. But you're on your feet in basketball, and you're running hard. You want a shoe that's going to work for you. You can spend 70 or 80 bucks for a good shoe. You should. Nothing worse than bad feet because of bad shoes. I just tell you, the New Balance shoe is the only one that comes in really wide widths. And for what it's worth, you can do what you want. I'll bring that information to you next week because I don't want to mislead you. I haven't talked to the guy. I've already told you the games, the crews, the referee and an umpire, the referee and 2 umpires. Score time should be located at the school. They are part of that. One thing I did say was those people are part of our team. That's another reason that you have control over them. They are part of the officiating team. They sell their allegiances to their schools when they do those 2 jobs, scorekeeping and bookkeeping, time. Okay, so they're part of our team. That's why they need to work with us and we need to work with them. There's a statement I made then in section 2, use of any replay of television is prohibited in high school unless it's a state tournament. In the state tournament we say you can use them, but that's a whole different ball game. We just don't have it during the regular season. Then Article 2 is very important. I can tell you it's going to be several test questions, and I can tell you that we have veteran officials that cannot explain this rule to you. You just can't. So I'll tell you, easy way to remember. It says we're on the floor 15 minutes before the game. As you move up, it's not so important in a middle school or JV game. You start to get varsity ball, you get some kids that can play, even on the weekends if you're doing like AAU ball or something. You don't want to ever not be on the floor if there's players on the floor. So if there's players on the floor, get your butt out of the locker room and get out there. It's a reason to get to the game early, have your pregame, which is a term we'll explain to you later, and be ready to referee 30 minutes before that game time, even though you're not required by rule to be on the floor for 15 minutes before tip-off. That's what the rule says. But if you've got players on the floor, and they're out there doing stuff, anything can happen. And I'm not just talking about dunks. I'm talking about fights. I'm talking about intimidation. I'm talking about anything and everything can happen. So we got players on the floor. I tell my game manager when I go in and introduce myself, hey, I'm Jerry Stone, I'm referee tonight. Where's their locker room? Would you make sure we have privacy? And make sure that I don't have any players on the floor without at least one official out there. Yes, sir. And I'll just let them know. Nothing's going to happen crazy on my watch. And so we will be out there. So 15 minutes is a rule, but a good rule of thumb practically is you got to be on the floor if we have players. So your authority starts when you take the floor, whenever that is. Somebody can't come into the locker room and say, hey, ref, they're dunking out there. You go out there and start whacking people. You don't have the authority unless you're out there and you see them. Okay? Again, throwing stuff off the wall. Remember that any dunks that occur during a dead ball, i.e. warm-up time, or technical fouls on the players who dunk, and indirect, which is a term that you may not understand, but there's a term, indirect, which means the coach is responsible for all substitutes and bench personnel. If we haven't started the game, the entire team is bench personnel. If they're out there dunking, and this is something I hope in my last game this happens. If the coach lets them, if it's not out there, and they dunk, and we get 3 dunks, so we've got 3 technical fouls. I'm going to go over to my coach. Coach, Todd, how you doing tonight, man? Good to see you. Who on your staff has always wanted to be a head coach? Tracy Hammond, he's been toiling. Say good. Got some good news and bad news. Tonight's Tracy's night. What's the bad news? 13, 24, and 30 dunked the ball. You're out of here. You got 3 indirect technical fouls. You're gone. I hope that happens. That's the way I want to go out. I just want to go out like that. Non-demonstrative, non-argumentative, with a coach I know. Be even better. Be even better. But the key is, if you're not out there, you can't call it. If you're out there, you got to call it, and it can be big ramifications. When does your authority end? That's huge, because in different places in this rule book, it said the game ends when the final score is approved. And you will be misled by the book, then the book leads you to think that once I look at my score and I say, are we good? And that score says, we're good. Everything's cool. Score is 65-64, Clover Hill wins. We start to walk off of that floor, game is over. Score's been approved. It says it in the book. It says it in the book. Wrong. The final score is only approved when both officials, or in the case of a 3-person crew, all 3 officials, leave the confines of the floor, which means out of sight, out of mind. You got to be out of that gym, in the locker room. So once that door closes behind you, over. We can't go back. No going back. Game over. Whatever happens, happens. If that score's tied, Aaron, I got some good news and bad news. No trouble tonight, except the score was wrong and Clover Hill and Manchester tied, and we win the locker. You probably through the phone will hear his head explode, because he knows he's got to talk to 2 ADs. So, another reason to make sure if you're the R, to literally take time and check. Don't be running off that floor just trying to get out of Dodge and get in the locker room. Because remember, until all officials leave the floor, we can go back and correct whatever we need to correct. Even though I've given the thumbs up, my score's giving me the thumbs up, everybody at the table's giving me the thumbs up. If I'm not out of here and my partners aren't out of here, off that floor behind that door, and we have a problem, we can make it right. If we're out of sight, out of mind, too late, Jose, we're gone. Okay? All right, pretty simple in that, but I can promise you that'll be at least 2 just questions. Rule 2.3 is kind of the elastic clause. This is a really big rule. It's huge. If you notice, it says the referee. It doesn't say the officials. It doesn't say the referees, because there's only one referee. Okay, the head guy or girl, the referee, the R, can make any ruling that they see fit to be made. It isn't covered in the rule book or portrayed, is involved with safety. So if they just get some crazy cockamamie where the ball goes through the hole, hits a pipe, hits a lady in, there's nowhere in the book that covers that. We can't find it, we don't know it. Then whoever the R is in that game can say, okay, here's the deal, this is what I'm ruling. And bingo, end of discussion. Rule 2, Section 3, the elastic clause. The referee shall make decisions on any points not specifically covered in those rules. Okay?
Question.
Usual, yes, sir.
We had a situation over the summer, it was in Millwood, and it started raining, and the roof started leaking, so the referee called the game for safety. That similar to the rules?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. It would suspend the game. It wouldn't be over. They just say, okay, at this point, and if that were to happen, the point was to go. All of a sudden, the old excuse me, the old Trinity gym was a perfect example. That place used to sweat inside, and you might have to call the game right in the middle of the game because the floor was too wet to run on. In fact, that happened to St. Christopher's. Anybody been to St. Christopher's gym? We took the St. Christopher's Virginia Episcopal game one night down to the auxiliary gym inside the track. We moved everything. Fans, teams. We set up bleachers because the upstairs gym, because of condensation due to the air conditioning, the outside temperature, had gotten to the point where the floor was wet and we couldn't do anything about it. There's no way we could keep dry. People run down the floor and just slide out of bounds. It was insane. I mean, it was insane. And somebody was going to get hurt, and I'm the referee. I'm the referee. That, in a lawsuit in 2019, in 1965, whenever I started, that wasn't going to happen. But in 2019, I'm the first name on the line when the lawyer writes up the lawsuit. Who was the official involved? That cost me a fortune just to defend myself. So, anyway, that's what that rule is about, okay? Who else? Anybody else have a question over here? I see a line. Okay. Section 4, I'm not going to read 4 and 5 and 6. It just simply talks about what you need to, again, they're test questions. You don't need me to read those, but notice that there is a definite difference between the referee's duties and the official's duties. Okay? Like the referee is responsible, real quick, it's your job to contact the crew, make sure you know what time you will be there, where you will meet if it's a road game. It's your job to conduct the pregame in the locker room that involves the crew. It's your job to check all the equipment. It's your job if there's a question about safety factor, arm, splint on an arm, or below the elbow, above the elbow, knee braces. You have to rule on that. Here, you can't have hearing, you can't have jury, but let's say something, women's hair, or men's hair now. The length of a hair a player can be denied the right to participate because their hair's too long and they're worried about the hair swinging around and hitting somebody in the eye. Fingernails, too long of fingernails. That's the referee's job, okay? And then the referee talks to the captains between, when they meet before the game. And then, like 2-3 said, if there's something in the game that needs to be addressed, and we need to have a ruling on and we can't figure it out, the referee goes, including whether the last shot is good, the R is the person for that game that says, okay, this is what we got. And they make a decision. And if there's a problem with that, it's going to come back to the R. It's not coming back to the crew. It's coming back to the R. So anyway, that just talks about what the referee's duties are before the game, during the game. Notice up there at the top of page 17 that it says, no official has the authority to set aside a question decision made by the other official within the limits of their respective outline duties, which means I could have all kinds of experience and I could be working a middle school game with you and bip, you've got to travel, you go the other way. I know when to travel. Kid was dribbling. You can't travel while you're dribbling. It's illegal. You can have an illegal dribble. You can't travel by rule. It's impossible to travel while you're dribbling. Coach says, hey, what's wrong? You can't have travel. You know? But he called it. She called it. You got to go with that, coach. I can't come running that thing and change your call. Say, hey, no, you can't have that. I'll tell you at halftime, hey, remember, you can't travel while you're dribbling. You have illegal dribble. But I can't change your judgment calls, you can't change mine. You think it was a travel, it was a travel. And that's what that rule says. So we don't run all over the floor, just, because sometimes early in your career you get to do what we call ball watching. One of the toughest things to do as a basketball official is to learn that you've got only 2 people involved with the ball and 8 people not. And when you're working in a 2-person crew, that means one official is looking at 2 people and the other official is looking at 8. So if 2 people are watching the ball, we got 8 people running around, nobody's watching. Make sense? And that's where our problems are. So somebody takes a shot with an elbow, somebody just hits an illegal screen, now we got the coach screaming at us, and I got my partner watching me watch the ball get dribbled, and I'm going like, hey, you got to do your job. And it's easy to not do your job, because all the excitement's where the ball is. It's kind of like football. Nobody in the stands sees a hold on the line. Everybody's watching the guy in the backfield miss a pass or something. But everybody in the stands can call offsides or the hole, which they didn't see, but it is what it is. Still watching replay. So just remember, you gotta, discipline yourself to do that. So you can't be challenging each other. Officials' general duties, they're there. Officials' additional duties. Home management game committee is responsible for spectators. We don't officiate outside the line. We have veteran officials that get freaking emotionally distraught over things that are going on outside the line, and they get to the point where they give them the finger, they curse people, they do insane things with people in the stands. And it's not our job. What our job is to go to game management, that person that you introduced yourself to before the game, and say, hey, I got a fan that's being belligerent. We're not gonna have that. And I'd appreciate it if you can take care of that. And just drop the bomb right on them. If it's a high school game, we're lucky enough to have police officers, and anybody who knows any police officers knows that those guys and girls salivate over the chance to arrest somebody. I mean, they're getting paid about $90 an hour to work overtime, and they're standing up against that freaking wall doing nothing. And if you go over and say, hey, that guy in the stands just said he knows where I live, their eyes light up, and they just become different people. And all of a sudden they're over there, and I'm being dramatic, but I'm telling you the truth. I mean, I've heard a police officer tell one guy one night, we were playing, a Hanover team was playing an Henrico team. Wasn't Hanover and Henrico, it's a Hanover team playing Henrico. And some guy said, I think he had said, the only time I've ever had a fan run was one night I heard a guy say, I know where you live. I didn't think it was funny. I mean, he may admit it funny, but I didn't think it was funny. I took that as a threat. So when we told the Henrico police officer, hey, officer, kind of glad you said he knows where I live. And I heard what he said to the guy. He said, do you think you can get back to Hanover without my help? Or do you need for me to follow you? The guy got up, left the gym, and I suppose he made it back to Hanover, and the guy didn't follow him. But I looked at that officer the rest of the night. I could have told him, go get me a cheeseburger or something. I made his night. He was a happy camper. And the guy was gone. Made it even better. But the point is, don't let these people sucker you in. They will ride you. They will taunt you. They will, like I said, my mama's moved me. So, you don't worry about what's outside the line. And for heaven's sake, don't react to them. And like I said, we've had veteran officials, and we've had to deal with, as a member of the executive committee, that is to a point where they've given somebody a finger, they've cursed somebody, they've actually gone up in the stands. Back in the old day, Archie Lee Harris. Y'all don't know, none of y'all were alive when we played in the arena. But that was Archie Lee, who was a very stately man, who was very proud, and who was a hell of an official. You said screw with him. He had a partner named Angela Lawrence. Angela Lawrence's hands were big as his plover. I know because I've seen him wrap his fingers around my arm 3 times and tell me, you don't do that. I remember that. I've seen Archie and Andrew refereeing games in the whatever I said, yeah. I've seen Archie leave the floor and go on up in the stands. A horse would do it in a heartbeat. In a freaking heartbeat. He go up and hit somebody and they come on back down and referee. We can't do that anymore. But he didn't have any problems either, so I respected those guys. I love them to death. But just leave the people in the stands alone. Do not get caught up in that. On page 18, very quickly, situation to notify the head coach and request a timeout, begin the replacement. If there's a foul out or disqualification, there's a system that we use. Again, throwing stuff on the wall. Anytime we've got a player that needs to leave the game because they've been they fouled out, or for some reason, let's just say they, we don't want to say they've gotten a couple of technicals, but they have to leave the game. The system is always tell the coach first, coach, 5 fouls on 24, then tell the table to start the 20-second clock. and tell the player last, 24, that's 5. The reason for that is that if we don't tell the coach first, 24 is still a player. So if we tell 24, hey, 24 is 5, and 24 says, it's a bullshit call, ref, and we whack him, that's just a technical foul. But if we tell the coach, it's 5 on 24, starts the 20-second clock, 24, that's 5, that's a bullshit call, and whack him. Now we got an indirect technical on the coach too. Because once we told that coach that 24 was out, 24 is bench personnel. No matter where they are on the floor, they belong to him or her. And they are supposed to be responsible for them. So the system, just remember, that's what this is alluding to. And again, we'll cover this multiple times in the book. But the system is always coach, timer, player. Not timer, player, coach, not player, timer, coach, not player, coach, timer. Coach, timer, player. And if you do that, then you're covered. Question?
So if you go past the 20 seconds, there's a technical.
It's the only time it's a technical foul on the coach. Too many excessive timeouts on the coach. Only time the coach gets a technical foul for delay is if they don't substitute. That's hardly ever a problem because you got 20 seconds, they got a warning horn at 15. The coach is gonna have to be a real butthole. I've never experienced that, even from somebody who's trying to embarrass me. And what we do, again, going stuck on the wall again, is if I whack that player, or I call the 5th foul on the player, and we are partners, I'm going to where you are, and you're going to the table. So if there's a bitch session by the coach, he's doing it with somebody who was not involved in the play. So then if you go, hey, now listen to that, and you whack him. Then the coach calls Aaron, says, hey, Stone threw me out tonight. Give me 2 technicals on the same play. Aaron said, oh, no. I already talked to him. He gave you one. Reggins gave you one. The second one you got was about Reggins. Reggins didn't make the call. Reggins was just trying to get the player in the game. You were a butthole to Reggins. Coach, go tell your AD you're going to have to sit the next game. And I'll follow up with 11 tomorrow. That's the procedure. Again, don't put yourself in a position of failure, which means if you're going to step into a firestorm, remove yourself from that possibility and send another partner in there who's got nothing to do with this play except just to get the game going. And now my response to you as a coach is when I walk up to you and I say, Coach, we need that substitute. One on. Yeah, but come on. I thought, hey, Coach, I didn't make that call. Come on, I need to substitute. Let's play. Let's go. I'm out of there. He gets it after that. But I said, yes, and then. Yeah. So, just, again, don't set yourself up for you don't have to be the hero. Those that have officiated know. A lot of times, it's easy to get yourself up on the big horse with the flag and the spear and say, I got the shirt, I got the whistle. I'm going to show you how big I am and what I can do. And if you want to fight, I'm going to fight you to the... No, that's not even worth the $50 we're getting paid. Who wants to fight? So get yourself out of there and let your partner take over. And you talk about that in the pregame. You say, hey, look, we got a situation that's sticky. I'm going to rotate whether we're supposed to rotate or not. And a lot of times, your good partner will know that. The partner won't wait for you. They'll rotate you out of the position. If I'm in a game with Jerry and I see him stick somebody, I'm going to the spot over there. And if he's, a lot of times, let's just paint a picture of this. I go over there, Reggins is starting coach, and I go, hey, Reggins, I got this. I got this. I don't need your help. I'll take care of this. Reggins, get your ass on the other side of the floor. If you want to argue with me, we'll argue after the game. Get over there and go on. We're not staying here no longer talking about this. Go. Where we're going. Good partner does that. And I'm gonna put Reagan's out of that. Again, so when that coach turns around, he's seen a different face. And if he wants to come at me, he's got the right to come at me, but he's not coming to me for the same reason he came to Reagan's. He just come to me because he wants trouble. But we can solve that problem in a heartbeat. Rule 10. Technical foul. That's easy. We don't even have to worry about interpreting that one. He's just being unsportsmanlike. So, okay, scores, duties, you can read that on your own. The correctable error, try to read that section. That's a section in its own, and I'm not going to go over that tonight. But just so that you understand when you read that, there are 5 plays that we have that we can correct without getting too deep into the rule, because it involves the live ball, dead ball, live ball, and the clock starting after the error occurs and all that crap. But 4 of them involve free throws. So as you read that rule, what you're going to read is not shooting free throws that we should have shot, shooting free throws that we shouldn't have shot, the right person shooting the wrong number of free throws, or the wrong person shooting the right number of free throws. So those 4 are 4 of the 5. The other one involves scoring, not timing. Again, back when most of us played, we could correct timing as part of the correctable error rule. Timing is a whole separate rule involving that clock now. Only scoring, which means if we have inadvertently scored a 3 and now we've discovered that it's a 2, there's a time limit that we can correct that in. And that's what that is going to talk to you about. And I'm not going to go any deep on that because we could take a half an hour on this particular rule. But 80% of the errors are free throws. And the only other one is scoring. Timing is a definite knowledge thing. Again, throwing stuff off the wall. Anytime you're going to take time off the clock or put time on the clock, you have to have obvious knowledge. If you don't have obvious knowledge, you can't mess with the clock. There is no I think about 10 seconds anymore. You have to know it was 10 or 8 or 6 or 4 or whatever. The person who's got the count normally is the person who will do that because they've got a count going. The other person or persons in the crew who don't have a count going, it's kind of difficult to have them sell that 4 seconds should have been off the clock when they aren't counting. There's always one person in the crew that's got to count when the clock should be started or stopped. They should know that. But if we don't have obvious knowledge, timing can't be dealt with. It's only when we can say, put 4 on, take 4 off, no question. Then we're okay. Okay? All right, timers duties, scores duties, that's all that. You can read that stuff for yourself. Let's do Rule 3 real quick. It's not very long. Rule 3 on page 21. The captain represents the team, like in most sports. The captain is the only one that can address the officials on rule interpretations. As long as the captain is being polite, they are more than welcome to talk to me. I want to talk to them. I want them to feel like, 1, I'm approachable, and 2, I can explain something to them, but once I explain it, it's over and we play. We play. They can't question judgment. And the other players on their team can't ask for explanations by rule. If the kids are good, I don't care who asks me that. Hey, what was that about? Tell them. I mean, what am I going to be I'm going to be a jerk. So, negative role model for a kid. Get away from me, kid. You're not the captain. The kid's polite. Ask me a question, and I can answer it in a couple words. Well, it's this. Okay, thank you. Okay. But the captain by rule, so if you get asked a question, captain. Any player can request and be granted a timeout. Throwing stuff off the wall. Stoneisms, coaches and players request timeouts. Officials grant them. Which means that it's up to you to decide whether or not you give a timeout and when. It's not up to when the coaches start getting up and screaming, timeout, timeout, timeout. If there's a ball loose on the floor and we don't have possession, we can't call timeout because it's got to be somebody in possession on the offensive team before we can grant it. If there's a play going on, we have to go find the ball. We have to turn around away from the coach. That's why you hear the request. You don't turn and look. And then you judge what's going on the floor. And if the opportunity is right, blow the whistle, grant timeout. So it's good to know that simply because a coach or a player says timeout, 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 doesn't mean you have to blow the whistle and call timeout. Coaches and players request timeouts. Officials grant them, period. Okay? And that's what that says there. Any player on the floor can request a timeout. Used to be you're only the captain. That's not right anymore. Rosters, very quickly, just some brief statements. There is a lineup. Has to be, again, the referee checks the book. So you got the table here. When you come out, it's at least 15 minutes, maybe longer. But when you see that clock get to about 11 or 12, I always walk across early because I know at 10 minutes something's got to happen by rule. So if I wait till the 10-minute mark and I go over here and the book's aren't ready, I got to start calling technical fouls. Because the rule says at the 10-minute mark, rosters have to be in the book. So I'm going to go over early. Especially if it's a varsity game after JV and the same person's keeping score and they have to go to the restroom. Or, you know, if it's a kid, I'm talking to their girlfriend or boyfriend, you know, things kids do. Over in the corner texting. You know, which you can't have your telephones texting the score table. What you need to know is, in that case, at the 10-minute mark, the coaches are responsible for having their books accurate. Not like volleyball where they come up to the meeting, hand us a sheet, now we count them, we go over that and we count them. Now, before that, normally, what I've done is I've counted the players. If we go ahead, let's just say for this purpose of this one, it's a 3-man crew. You two guys are my partners, you got the home team, you got the business. We're going to say in the pregame, look, count your players, find out who the captains are, find out when they're going back to the locker room. And your guys' job is to get that information to me. So you come in, so you got 15 players, 24 is your captain, they're going back at 10. Okay, so now he comes back and says, we've got 12 players, 20 is your captain, and they're going back in at 8. Okay, so now I know that before that 10-minute mark, I've got to have my captain's meeting. And ironically, the 10-minute mark matches up with the book. So I need to now adjust my pregame schedule to get my captain's meeting in before, or our captain's meeting, before they go back in the locker room. Because I don't personally like to deal with the teams once they come back out. Once they go in and they get that hoop rah rah and everybody comes back out, and the high school coach thinks he's not on television anymore, so he comes in finally, I finally see him for the first time, or her, they sit down on the bench. Okay, at that point in time, they're working. Before that, they're just sweating. Now they're working. So I don't want to deal with them. And I don't want them dealing with me either, because now my mind's in a different gear. I'm beginning to think about refereeing. So I got my captain's meeting out of the way, like let's say 13 minutes, because the earliest one's going in at 10, the other one's going in at 8. So now, at the 11 or 12 minute mark, time I get through with that captain's meeting, I'm going to walk over and I'm going to take a look at my book. I'm going to go, you know, hey, everybody in the book, and you've already told me we got 15 on one team and we got 12 on the other. So I'm going to take this book. We got people in our group, 40 years experience. They only check one book. That's suicide. Why? Both books can be used. It's insane. I put one side against the other, and I read down names and I go up numbers. Take this side, I put it on the other side. I go down names and up numbers. Everything should match. I don't care if I've got 20 names on the team that had 15 and 30 names on the team that had 10. But the last thing I want is to count 14 names on the team that had 15 players and 8 on the players that had 10. Because now I got a problem. Because we're approaching to the minute mark and my books aren't right. Now we're going to get into potential technical fouls if we get to the 10-minute mark, because I've got fewer players on the floor in the book than are on the floor. So now I'm going to go to an assistant coach, and somebody say, Coach, You only got 8 players on the book. There's 10 on the floor. Holy cow, wait a minute, let me get, okay, now we can correct it. We got 2 minutes to correct it. If I wait till 10 minutes, too late. I can't say, Coach, come on in. We have veteran officials. They won't come at the freaking locker room until there's 6 minutes left. How you going to enforce the rule? I'm going to tell you what, this guy's coached. I've coached. There's probably other people in here that coach. You call a technical on my rear end for my book being wrong, and you come at the darn locker room with 4 minutes to go. Your ass should have been on the floor at 15 minutes, and you going to call a technical on me? We starting off on the wrong leg. You come out and do your job when you're supposed to do it, which means at the 10-minute mark, somebody should have known the books were wrong. Don't you come rocking on out here 4 minutes after talking to the guy in the corner and you've been back there yakking with the people that are your buddies, and then you're going to enforce a rule on me that's going to cost me 2 points in the ball or more. That's bullcrap. There are people that do that. There are people that do that in the freaking tournament. And you don't think these guys that sit on the sideline know that? And well, sure they know it. Sure they know it. It makes a daggone difference. And it's also freaking lackadaisical authority on my part as an official if I think I'm bigger than the game and I can just come on out whenever I want to and coach, your book is wrong. Well, why didn't you tell them? Well, I stopped at McDonald's, I bought me a couple of cheeseburgers, ordered fries, and I was hungry. I was hungry, Coach. The party didn't get here late. Well, you got to wait for him. Well, I don't want to come here by myself, Coach. I got some self-esteem problems. Come on. Stuff happens, though. Okay. But with that being said, we got the 10-minute mark. After the 10-minute mark, unlike the old rule, again, when I played, maybe when some of y'all played, if there were multiple infractions, there could be multiple technical fouls. Now you can have one technical before the 10-minute mark and only one technical after the 10-minute mark. No matter how many, and that's what that thing says right there. No matter how many screw-ups in the book. Okay, now that's not an illegal number or something, but to add names, we're gonna, it's not gonna cost. We're never now gonna start a game with 8 free throws because we added 4 plays. We'll start a game with 2 free throws in the ball. We may have added 4 players. And that's what that is getting for. Okay? The substitute down in section 3 is one who desires to come in the game. The biggest thing that you have to know is, one, if it's during a game, that substitute has to come to the table himself and report. If it's at halftime, before the game, during intermission, the assistant coach, somebody can come up and put them in the game, they're in. But if the game's going on and a substitute comes to the table, this is when we have to know what's going on. Stuff on the wall. 1, horns only tell you something's going on at the table. They do not allow people to run on and off the court at will. You are the only person that can beckon a substitute on. If somebody comes running on the floor and you're not ready for them, stop them, put them back. Do your thing. Then you beckon them on. If they're running on you, a lot of coaches will play that game. They'll run that sub on you. They'll let you get ready to almost put it in play. And they, oh, sub. No. We're not playing that game tonight, Coach. No. Every sub's up here ready to go. I'll get them in for you. But you can't be. You might get me once. One time. I'm good with that because I know that, hey, it's possible. Maybe you mentally weren't ready to substitute, then you realize I got to get some. I'm cool with that. But a bunch of times, no. No. And you tell your timer, don't blow the horn unless somebody's been sitting here waiting. You hear the coach say, hey, I'm sending one, send them on up and get them in next time. They can just sit here a little longer. Now, you're not a wise guy, you don't tell the coach that, but you need to know you beckon people on. People don't just come on and off the floor because they want to. Secondly, if they substitute now during free throws, they can only substitute before the last of multiple free throws. So if we're shooting 2 or 3, the substitute's sitting there we're gonna shoot the first and second one, and then we're gonna let them in on 3. We're gonna shoot the first one before we let them in on the second one. If it's a 1-and-1, then we let them in, because we don't know that there's gonna be multiple free throws. The only other thing that can happen, can get us, is if there's an injury or disqualification, and that is, since we're gonna let somebody come in to make the game right, anybody who wants to sub can come in. So you may be putting the player in because your player fouled out, and we might be shooting multiple free throws, and you may want to put in a player, but we're going to shoot multiple free throws, and if we followed the rule, you couldn't substitute for the second free throw. No, because we've got to put a 5th player on the floor. We're letting everybody in. We don't piss and moan about that. And if there's somebody removed for blood or an injury, if there are 2 people that are opponents involved, only the team that calls the time out can buy their player back in. If nobody calls a timeout, we need a sub. If Team A calls a timeout and 2 players, one from A and one from B, was injured, A can keep their player in the game because they call a timeout. B's got a substitute. If A and B both have teams with blood, players with blood on their jersey, it's a good example, and we send them out of the game, and they're the 2 biggest and best players on the floor, and it's 15 seconds left. In order for A and B to keep their players on, they both got to call timeouts. So you can't ride your player back in if they've been taken out for blood, this is an example of injury, on my timeout. It's going to cost both of us. Everybody understand that? Because there's a lot going on. End of the game, a lot of pressure, okay? And, stuff on the wall, if a player leaves the game and there's no timeout call, they can only re-enter that game if time goes off the clock. We got to see a click go off the clock. They can't leave and we shoot a free throw and that's a play, right? Everybody agree? You left the game, got to sit. Shoot another free throw. You had live ball, dead ball, live ball, dead ball. Nope. Have to see, you left, we have to see 9.08 go to 9.07. If the tick doesn't go off the clock and you leave the game, you cannot re-enter. And that's where you really need your scores to work with you and your timers. Because late in the game, coaches are going to sub defensively and offensively. People flying back and forth in front of the table. And people are just running up and going in. And you're reporting fouls, you worry about the 1-and-1, you worry about the possession earn, and clock's winding down. You're multitasking in your mind. That's where you really need the table to be sharp and say, hey, just sit down, came out. Or I want to say, hey, Mr. Stone, 24 came out the game doing that first free throw. 24 you're out. Not a technical foul. 24 you back out. Whoever was on the floor comes back. Okay? Or somebody else can come back. If 15 came in for 24, then 13 can come in for 15, and 8 can come in for 13, and 4, and 8 can't, that's an illegal number. 5 can come in for 13, and 4 can come in for 5, and 2 can come in for 4, but the original player can't come back in and none of those others can come in that were substituted for until we see a click go off the clock. And as minutiae as you think that sounds, it'll get you killed. Because the one player that you let come back and play will score the winning goal, and there's not going to be a happy person to tell you to kill. Okay. Substitutions, I already said that, they can be made. Captains can request a matchup. Hardly ever happens anymore. Once in a while, the captain will say, hey, ref, can we match up? We're playing a man-to-man defense. And you only let that happen when there's 3 or more subs. 1 sub comes in, you don't do that. But if there's 3 subs or more, and the captain requests that, then you just blow the whistle and say, okay, captain, get your people straight, blah, 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 blah. Captain, you good? Okay, now we play. they can request a matchup. Hardly ever happens, but you need to know that. You don't need to look at them like, what the heck is going on? A substitute, again, from a rule standpoint, doesn't mean much to you now, but when we get to technical fouls, it will, because then we're talking about legal and illegal subs. If we've got someone who entered the game illegally, once the ball becomes alive, and they give you a simple explanation of that, if we've got a throw in and somebody enters illegally, and I hand that ball to the person throwing in, the clock is not running, but the ball is what we call live. Because now I put the ball in play. Once the ball becomes live, that sub is legal. They have to home blows and say, hey, 13 illegal. No, not anymore. So I handed the ball to the throw-in. That's why you take a look around, make sure that. The other time you look around too is make sure that, especially towards the end of the game, we've all seen a situation where coach says 13, go in for 12. You're going for 22. That's all we're looking at is a 2. 22 gets you to the bench, coach says, hey, I didn't send them in for you. Send them in for Sally, 12. Then that 22 goes back. And we ain't count the players. We want to hurry to get the game going. We hand the ball to the throw-in, put it in play. We got 22, 12, and everybody else did that. We got 6 against 5, and we're playing. Now you're talking about them, those people thinking we're idiots. Now we can't even count to 6. And you don't think they're going to rise you. They will remind you of basic math every time they get. So always take a look and be responsible for both teams. Don't assume that you're going to count your players and I'm going to count mine. If I've got the ball, I'm not putting that ball in players' hands until I count 5 on each team. And I know I'm fully responsible. I'm still going to let you count your players, and I'm going to look at you and give you the thumbs up. But hey, I'm making sure we only got 10 players. I'm making sure we only have 10 players. Okay? Up at the top of page 23, a player has been replaced and directed to leave the game shall not be, we talked about that. Article 6, the player has been injured, and we talked about that. That's the one with the timeout. And down in the note it says that players were directed to leave the game and their opponents for blood. You've got to have a timeout. We're talking about that. Down at the bottom of page 23, starts in uniforms. That's just something you got to read. I don't know this rule right here any better than you do. I mean, I know the 0-0-0, unlike volleyball, illegal in basketball. You can have 0-0-0. That's the problem with those people in here that do multiple sports is you're going to have, we're uniform police. And we have the police color of undergarments, lengths of undergarments, ass sleeves are cut off. I mean, it's just insane what we have to do. So you just have to read that rule and memorize it. We'll talk more in depth about it as we get into Rule 4. But basically, that's the uniform rule, and you just need to freaking know it. On page 25, says, can't permit a team member to wear equipment down in section 5 or apparel in which, in that judgment of the referee, is dangerous or confusing to other players or is not appropriate. Boy, in 2019, you got to be pretty freaking sure that it's inappropriate before you go roll that, because you're going to have a sticky wicket with the player. A perfect example of that is, for years, there's been a rule that says you can't roll your waistband over. And there's been games where officials have let that happen, but it's against the rules, so you can't roll them over. Well, 2019, so now, all of a sudden this year, you can roll the waistbands over. But, caveat, rules will say, if the referee feels like it's inappropriate, they can tell them not to. What? You either can or you can't. So I will tell our board when we meet the first time, we're not messing with pants. They roll those suckers up. The only thing we worry about is when they roll the pants over. If we got Nike 18 times around it, they can't do that. They have one logo, the right size. If he's got Nike once, we're cool. They roll that sucker up to their crotch. I could care less. Okay? I'm not going that because the rule doesn't back me up. And then, what's worse is, I'm the goofball tonight who says, hey, my standards are different. Don't roll your pants up. You come in tomorrow night. The book says, hey, it's okay, go and roll them up. You love them. Records comes in the next night. Unroll your pants. Freaking coach and the kids are going crazy. What's going on here? You guys know what's going on? Well, yeah, because the rule book is, those guys in freaking Indianapolis don't have the gonads to say, take that off the film, by the way. They don't have the gonads to say, look, you can't roll your pants up, or you can roll them up and don't worry about it, referees. But they won't say that. So now we got a rule that says you can't roll it up and have multiple logos showing, but it's okay to roll them up, and it's going to be okay to roll them up. Down the bottom of the page on 26, it talks about braces. Basically, in basketball, unlike some other sports, can't have anything below the elbow. Okay? Except soft stuff, they can Band-Aid or something. No brace, no cast, no hard, nothing. They can't put anything over it. If it's hard, it's hard. You'll see them warming up, bring them over. Who checks? Referee. I'm going to bring them right to you. Hey, it's great. I'm leaving because he's the final say. Okay? Above the elbow, you can have it, but it's got to be wrapped. Almost with bubble wrap. Does not apply to knee braces. Knee braces or knee braces, unless you feel like there's an exposed metal brace on the knee brace, it is what it is. Anything that isn't a brace on an elbow or on a knee is a sleeve. And now that comes under the sleeve rule, which says all sleeves and undergarments and headbands and wristbands must be the same color. White, black, gray, or the predominant color of the team jersey or whatever. T-shirts have to be the predominant color of the jersey. So if Godwin comes out and they've got white shirts under red uniforms at Freeman, they got to take the white T-shirts off, even though they all may have white T-shirts on. If one guy wears a red T-shirt and anybody else wears a T-shirt, that shirt has to be red. Same way with headbands. If one kid wears a white headband, which isn't under the same rules as the sleeve rule, then if it's the kid who's the biggest, toughest, meanest kid, that's going to be the color of everybody else's headband. But you can find out. If one can't wear, even though the colors are all okay, beige, black, white, we can't have a red headband, blue headband, white headband, beige headband, and then whatever, Benedictine predominantly green, because green is the color of that jersey. We'll find out from the team captain, okay, we're okay with the headbands, but which one y'all want to wear?
So does everybody have to have a headband, or?
No, doesn't have to have one, but if they have one, it's got to be the same. Exactly right. We can't have 5 different colors. Even though they're all legal, we've got to decide which legal color.
Which color, whatever.
And so, that's one thing that you want to check on during pre-game. Because imagine when you go over to shake the coach's hand, say, hey, coach, by the way, the whole team's got illegal T-shirts on, they got to change them. And here we got all the kids in the huddle going, yeah, we're going to bust out of here. And the coach says, oh, hold it. Everybody's got to go take their T-shirts off. No. We need to tell the coach that during the warm-ups so they can make the adjustment. You don't need to go over there and surprise them with that at the end of the game.
I got a question.
Yeah.
The new headband will be tied up.
Ah, great question. What do we call them, ladies? Somebody give me the kerchief or whatever. You can't have a tail, an extension. Everybody's got a what? Can't have an extension on a headband. So, guy or girl who ties the headband, and it's got the little flare coming off of it because it's too long. We got to cut those off. Headband's got to be one cylindrical thing, whether it's a regular headband or whether it's a tied headband. It stops at the knot. Stops at the knot. By rule, Will you go out there and see people refereeing with extensions on their headbands? The answer is yes. And why do you see that? Because the person there the night before you didn't correct it. That's why. Don't make my job harder. You do your job. If you do your job on Tuesday, I won't have a similar problem on Thursday. If you don't do it, you're making me the bad guy. Because I'm going to come in and I'm going to go over to the captain. I was a captain. 42 and 54, got to go over there and cut those friggin' extensions off those headbands. And she's going to look at me, or he's going to look at me like, oh, what kind of guy is here tonight? What kind of idiot we got? We've been playing 4 games this week, same headband. Nobody said a word. Well, I'm not trying to be a bad guy. I'm just trying to force a rule. And I don't want the coach at the other end, in the middle of the first quarter, saying, Mr. Stone, I don't mean to be a butthole, but can you tell me why those 4 girls have got extensions on their headbands when that's illegal? Now, I don't have an answer. Right? I don't have an answer for that. I either got to tell him I didn't see it, that's a lie. I didn't know it, that's a lie. And he knows I'm lying because he knows I see it and I know it. Just do your job. Everybody does their job. We can all solve a whole bunch of problems, different ones on different nights. And that's what the team apparel says on that similar. You can read that for yourself. The one that really gets people are the undershirts. Remember, undershirts have to be a similar color of the jersey. And the jewelry. There is no jewelry. There are no excuses. Now, there is one excuse this year we'll have to deal with, but I'll tell you how we do it. By book rule, if they've got a religious medal needs to be taped inside their uniform. Okay, they can wear it, we don't question it, but it can't be hanging out. Catholics are famous for that. We don't let the crosses hanging out. It's not touching down Jesus' time. You got to put that cross in him. He knows I'm kidding. Okay, so we got it. That's okay. We're not going down the religious road. Just take it. Can't be hanging out. Safety factor. Why? Safety factor. Can't have somebody going up on rebound, catch your cross in your chain, rip your nose up. Can't happen. Because why? 2019, Jerry Stone, lawyer, lawsuit. So, okay. Medical, it can be visible. It's got to be taped. So it's got to be flat to your surface of your arm. It's got to be visible. Some kids get diabetic problems or whatever. The one this year is going to be different. And there'll be a lot, I'm sure, if they handle it like all the other. Now we know there's a migraine earring. A migraine pierced earring. And one of the solutions to solving your migraine headaches is to have, basically it's acupuncture in the right spot in your ear, and it's a pierced ear. Yeah, it's 2019. So now, if that happens, we're going to have the coach who is going to have a letter from the Virginia High School League saying, look, I've gotten this approved, and we're okay. If they don't have the letter, they just can't play. Same way with the kids. Kids say, hey, look, I'm not taping this to my rib. No. Oh, I love Jesus. I love Jesus too. It's not an argument. Well, I want Jesus to see my cross. Jesus can see your cross, but they will see it on the bench. You can't play. Right? Jesus is not going to see it on the floor, because the rule says if you don't want to tape Jesus to your chest, you can't play. Not a technical. You're not going to get mad at you. We want you. I mean, hey, you might be the last person in the room with me when I go down with a heart attack. I don't want you to say that's the guy that said I can't say hello to Jesus. But you know, so as a rule it says, if you don't want to follow the rule, you just can't play. You can wear all the jewelry you want, but you can sit on the bench and wear it. You can play, you can try to play with your shirt tail out. But if you keep pulling it out on me, you're going to sit down. And you go sit down and you come in, and you come in with your shirt tail in. Why? Because it's the rule. I told Jerry and I had this discussion the other night. As old as I am, I could give a rat's ass how these kids look. I mean, if it were my kid, I know how they look, but that's if it were my kid. Their shirt tail out does not affect my refereeing. Whether or not they got their pants rolled up. But I don't have the latitude of interjecting my personal philosophy on dress codes into the game. How I feel doesn't matter. It's in this book. And the book says you can't play with your shirt tail out. It doesn't say you can only play with it out if it's okay with Mr. Stone. It says no. So I don't have a right to say that. Can you roll your pants over? I think it looks like crap. But as of 2019, the book says you can roll your pants over. I don't care whether you roll the damn pants over or not. But the book says you can. So roll them over. Just can't have multiple logos. So now all I'm going to look for is if you got Nike on there once or 10 times. Got a 10? Got to unroll them once. If you don't want to unroll them because you don't look good, your pants are too long and they make you look socially unacceptable, but you got 14 Nike emblems, go look socially acceptable while you're sitting down watching the game, cheering for your teammates. You just don't get to play. There's no option there. Why? No. Easy call. The battles we have to fight. Last but not least, safety concerns. That's a problem that only comes when we come in a situation where a kid goes down. One of the toughest things as official to do is judge when a kid is really hurt. If a kid hits the floor and goes down, you kind of have to take a look at what was the injury. If the injury was an ankle, elbow, wrist, or hand, you'll stop the game. It's not fair. It's fair to the other team who's advancing up the floor. I mean, you can't say, stop, we'll let them put it in the sub and go back to 5-on-5. But if you think that there's a safety factor, back, neck, head, spine, something broke, there's a convulsion where there's a bone sticking through, anything you err on the side of safety, you stop the game, get your kids substituted for it. Just remember, if you stop the game, good rule of thumb, you stop the game and somebody comes off that bench. I don't care whether they come off and turn around and go back. If they step off that bench, that kid's going out. That way they don't play games where you've been going down and stopping the game only to stop the other team from progressing up the floor or to get somebody in that they want. And there's all kinds of stuff that they do. So I don't care whether it's first minute or the last minute. That way too, you can go like the first minute, oh yeah, okay, they're okay, coach, you're okay. They're okay if the coach doesn't come out. That coach steps in on the floor, hey coach, take them out. You can put them right back in as soon as the clock runs. But we got to come out, you came on the floor. Because what's going to happen is, let that kid stay on the floor. But with a minute to go, the best player on the other team does that, and you make them go out. And now that coach says, hey, you didn't do the same for us. You let that kid stay in. He just beat us. Or she just beat us. So just remember, good rule of thumb is if that person comes off the bench and you are the sole determiner on safety, but make sure you say, for the safety of the player, coach, I thought it was necessary to stop the game. I would do the same for you. And at that point, we don't care how much the coach complains, Aaron will back you up. But don't just stop the game because the kid goes down. The old soccer player that goes down and groans and screams and yells, and as soon as you stop, he gets up and high-fives everybody and is ready to play. That doesn't happen in basketball. Somebody goes down and it's an ankle, they twist their ankle. And we're going to wait till the ball goes to the other end and settles, or the ball goes to the other end and they score, or the ball goes to the other end and they shoot and miss, and now that player's teams get the ball. Now we stop the game, and we let that player be taken care of. Everybody got that? Any questions? I put you through a lot of tough stuff tonight. I apologize for the first night, but I'm going to tell you, we need to go through it. We need to hear it. You need to know it. And it's going to make a difference at some point down the road. This week, I would like everybody to come in with a question next week. I don't care what it is. I mean, I want you to read ahead of the book. You can read all 10 rules this week if you want. I told you Rule 4 needs to be read every week. If you don't, that's bad on you. That's not bad on me. I told you what you need to do. you'll be so far ahead of this class, if you go move forward back into college, you'll be able to teach, and I'll be able to sit down and listen. So, thank you. We appreciate you being interested in officiating. We want to give you every opportunity to be good, be successful, have fun. It is fun. Not gonna make you rich, but you can make some decent money. If you're good enough to get into the college level right now, I mean, right now, college officials are getting $2,000, $2,500 a game. Some of them, we got college officials making $250,000 a year just on officiating. I mean, they do 100, 110 games, and they're making $200,000, $300,000. They're making enough money to hire an assistant to take care of them, do all that travel. You'll never do that in high school, but there's a lot of money to be made for somebody who's really serious about this, that's got some goals. If you've got the, we have a girl that played at Richmond, or played at, excuse me, at Georgia a couple of years ago. She's in her 3rd year of officiating. So that basically, if she had stayed here, she would be in her 1st full year as a full member. She would be 2 years removed from a trainee and 1 year removed from a provisional member. She's getting picked up by 4 college conferences this year. I'm so proud of her. She was my little sister too, which makes me even more proud. But 4 college conferences, and she's got a real chance to go in the NBA. I mean, a real chance. She got a chance to go in the men's side of the NBA. So she's got some goals, she's got some ability, and you know, she did everything we asked her to do, and we're happy for her and proud of her. And some way in here we could have that. But at the very least, we have a bunch of people, men and ladies, gentlemen and ladies who, you know, you're right on the threshold of having a really good time, being able to make a little extra money and, you know, continue your athletic career. Not as a player, but as an official. It brings me probably to the last thing I should say. You are no longer a player. I don't want to see you down there on that freaking floor, bouncing that ball, shooting shots. Okay, that will send me crazy. Okay, you're no longer a coach. Can't think like a coach, can't act like a coach. You're a referee, you're official. One of the hardest things to do is get out of that mindset of being someone who knows the game but doesn't know the rules like they should be applied. I mean, there's a lot of experts in this room, and they're a group that know the game of basketball, and that's a plus when you start. But you have to realize that now it's the rule side. It's not the playing side. I see people shaking their head. It's right on the money, and it's hard for us to let that go. It's hard for us to let that go and say, you know, as good as I played, as long as I've been in the game, as much as I know, I really don't know. I don't know. And I'm not going to act like I do know. You know, so, but we're there for the fun, and anything I can do, Jerry can do, or anybody else, we'll keep remembering stuff. In this class, if we have anybody who observes you and embarrasses you, you know, I will handle that. Nobody is going to humiliate you, except me. I may do it, but then I'll say, hey, I love you. I'm like your father. I'll say, what the hell are you doing? And you know I love you. Am I right? I'll say I love you. I'll tell you that. I'm not ashamed to say that. But I also say, what the hell are you doing? That is absolutely the worst thing I would say. Who taught you that, Reagans? But nobody else is going to embarrass you. And if anybody gets on you, and we got some people that will come in on purpose, who think they can embarrass you. Well, I got news for you. Before you get out of the class, you'll be better than they are. Okay, how many years they got? So, enjoy the week. See you next Wednesday. Get your question ready. And let's rock and roll. 6 o'clock, right on time.